We should be live. Alright. It looks
See if I
like
get
we're
mad.
live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geekiest Theoreticus podcast. I am your host, Asmagon, and this is my co-host.
Hello there. I am Ludus Infinium.
Hello there. And yes,
I was not going to pass up
as
that
that charming
opportunity.
hint, as that charming hint stands, we are talking about the Kenobi series. A couple house cleaning things to quickly get out of the way. I will not be available to anybody on the interwebs tomorrow. I am attending a thing, a not pleasant thing, but a thing that needs to be attended, and I will be unavailable. I'm choosing not to dwell on it past just giving this house cleaning warning. If you need to reach me at all, anybody, the guys on the Discord, my friends, yeah. You won't be able to really reach me tomorrow. I don't think I'll be near a computer most of it. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. Secondly, there's going to be a open mic stream right after this one, and Ludus, I hope, will stay on for that. Where we're going to be discussing the new Horus Heresy release and the box set. So, yeah. I was going to initially include that in this podcast episode, but I think there's enough with the Kenobi series in and of itself to talk about that and plus, the reason I want the Horus Heresy thing to be an open mic is not only is it 40k related, and I've almost all of my open mics so far have been 40k directly, but I really want to get as much takes from the community involved in that as possible. You know, I that's the whole point of open mics, is I like to give you guys a voice to kind of express your thoughts, and it's a way for me to pull people's ideas and something past like an actual poll, which is just percentages. I want to actually get takes, get ideas, get like, okay, from this angle to this angle to this angle. You know, I wanted to make an actual discussion with multiple perspectives. So that's why I do the open mics.
I will say, if I'm involved, it'll probably be like when you did the server meeting. I'll probably, because right after this stream, because I didn't think about this when I first said it, I do have to go back out to the godforsaken heat. But I will be able to interact through voice periodically and through text. So if that's cool with you, then I'll do it that way.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine.
I fucked up.
You're occupied. Alright, so,
I'm always occupied. What the fuck are you talking?
Alright, so the first crowds we got in so far, we got Karth Korn, Dragonis, Calkeel, and Jacob Kennedy. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Alright, so to initially break the ice into the topic, I have seen all 3 episodes of the Kenobi series thus far. I've seen all 3. Ludus has seen none.
I had little interest in seeing it, and the only reason I was originally interested in seeing it was because they brought back Ewan Mcgregor to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. After seeing the general reception across Facebook, through looking up different articles on Google and on Twitter, I am going to stay far the fuck away from it and keep my happy memories of Ewan McGregor. And I really do think it's not really his fault. I think it's just shitty writing, and he's just going.
Yeah, I'd say it's mostly shitty writing, if you ask me. But we're gonna split this up into 2 parts throughout the stream. We're gonna start with non-spoilers for those who want to see the series before hearing and want to be surprised by the events that occur in it. I will respect that, and we're gonna start by just talking about the general reception of the show. My takes as far as the episodes without giving any details away. Yeah, we're going to go about it like that, and then when we switch to a spoiler discussion, I'll put a warning up for you guys, and I'll let you guys know. I'm like, hey, we're now switching to spoilers. Hop out of stream if you want to watch it untainted. Alright, so let's just jump right into non-spoilers. So the thing I want to say, let's talk about general reception first, like how the show has been received, how the audience so far is responding to it. Again, not talking specific plot points quite yet, but just the general positive, negative. What are we looking at? What would you say you've been seeing a lot of, Ludus?
It would be kind of like what Steam would call mixed reviews, which is just a really polite way of saying the people that aren't mad with it are just completely pissed off.
Yeah. I would say
Hmm.
that's the majority. Like with everything, there is a small group that like it. And a lot of the people in the smaller group are pretty fervent about their like. To the point where there's enough of back and forth, especially on Twitter. Like that's
Oh yeah.
usually
Oh,
where
absolutely, yeah.
you see that divide. I will say on YouTube, in the comment section of reviews about the new series, and when I look at content creators and their own perspectives, it's been
Primarily negative.
it's been primarily negative. Most people have been criticizing what's her name? Moses Ingram's character, Reva. That's not a spoiler, by the way. She's in the first episode within the first few minutes, so they've been criticizing her character. We'll get into what I'll get. I actually agree with the criticisms. I have my own. I don't like her character. I will go into the reasons in the spoiler section, but I will just simply say I don't like her. I do want to stress this before we keep going, because this actually was a problem. People have been going at the actress Moses Ingram and the showrunners pretty aggressively. For those who are major detractors of Kenobi, it's been pretty extreme, but not. I would say this is nowhere near as bad as some other situations. Yet Moses Ingram herself shared screenshots of people sending her direct messages over Instagram and Twitter, calling her a diversity hire, calling her the N-word, calling her a few other choice things. Now, I do want to say this. I think she's using that as a club to deflect criticism a little bit, because she shows that stuff, but I guarantee you, amongst those DMs, she's getting genuine people who are genuinely saying, "Okay, I don't like your character. I think you're a great actress, though. I think you have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
But I just want, this is my criticism of your character or how you played the character." I have a hard time believing that most of the comments she's received, whether in DMs or in open Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, have been about her race, about her being a diversity hire, or whatever the case may be. So, but that being said, to the few minority of people that have gone after her and have said those things that I've seen in the DMs she's leaked, fuck you. You make the rest of us who have genuine criticisms of the show look bad, for one. And for two, you're giving them ammunition to deflect our real criticism. So,
And I would take that a step further, though. Not only are they giving people like that, if they actually believe that and they're actually, making that argument, let's take this and put it in something that actually happened before and a bit more real and a bit more in our wheelhouse. If that came up in like 40K, and like me, you, and Joe Schmo over there, we all say, like, let's say they do the Eisenhorn series, and there's a particular character that we just don't like. Me and you are like, we don't like this character because it doesn't fit with the lore. We think they're just a dumbass who was written in there for just no value whatsoever, and they're there just to be. They're the South Park Kenny of Eisenhorn, shit like that. And then you have this person over here, and let's say it just has to be, black person, Asian person, whatever, and they start throwing out racial slurs. Not only does that deflect from our argument, taints our argument just because our argument, even though we can say, hey, this person's a great actor, as soon as we say anything negative about that, those get thrown in with anything negative about it, and it just taints the whole argument.
yeah.
By the way, Frank.
What is it?
This is a
it looks like a crystal skull.
It is a 3D puzzle skull.
Oh.
And these things are a pain in the ass because, like all good things for ADHD people, it comes with no instructions.
Well, the thing is, if you have ADHD, instructions might not help you too much because you'd have to constantly be looking back at them. Because your attention would keep getting broken.
When you get something like this, though, if you look at all the little lines in there, that's how many different. There are different levels to this bitch. There are sometimes where it's like 2 pieces per layer, or hell, even like 3 or 4 pieces per layer. No, that thing needs instructions. I'm ADHD, Not like that level of ADHD,
but a level.
but a level.
Yeah. So, with that being said, I'll read off real quick because I did actually write in response to this because there was a YouTuber who covered the harassment she's getting, and I do want to respond to Karth Core real quick. Difficult to say if the DMs are even real. I will say this: there is always, whether they're trolling or they're genuinely bad people, that's debatable. But I do believe she is actually getting those kinds of messages because there's always those types when this shit happens.
Oh yeah.
I don't think she's faking them. Whenever there's a high-profile series or show or movie, it doesn't matter if it gets political by the showrunner's end or not. There's always like shitty people on the internet, 4chaners and stuff like that who. And again, I'm not saying like everyone who's going to send those messages is actually like racist or anything. Sometimes they're just trolls that are trying to get under people's skin, or they're trying to go through her, create controversy because it's funny to them. There are people out there who kind of fit the description of the Joker from The Dark Knight, right? Some men just want to watch the world burn. So there are those types. I definitely believe Moses Ingram has received those kinds of messages. I'm not saying the ones she showed weren't photoshopped. They could have been. But I definitely believe, I have no doubt in my mind she's received testy messages. I have no doubt in my mind of that at all. Not with how the internet works. But yeah, I'll end off on like this disclaimer: don't harass show creators, actors, actresses. I mean, it poisons the well. It creates a bigger divide between us and the showrunners that we're trying to get to make the shit we want. Because they hold the copyright, so we really want them to make good Star Wars shows and good Star Wars series, and I want them to respect what we love. And we only create a further divide when we get into this mudslinging. So I left this comment, and we're gonna leave off on this part with this, and then we're gonna move on to the actual response to the show. This is from me. I have many qualms about the new Kenobi series, and yes, Reva is one of them thus far. However, to take that out on someone merely playing a role, performing a job they have been contracted to do, and do in a way directed and scripted, is at softest nonsensical and at the plainest completely pathetic. It's one thing to respond to an actor or actress who has made baseless assertions of fans who criticize a show, blanketing all of them as racist, homophobic, the usual deflections. But it is an entirely different ballpark from that to direct messaging someone and hoisting all of that irritation and spite on them as a person. Especially if they've not spread previously mentioned assertions of the fans and community, which as far as I've seen, Miss Ingram has not done, which is true. I have not seen her do it. Disney have. They put up tweets like saying like we're combating racism and shit like that. Yeah. And we resist, shit like that. Disney have, but Moses, outside of this, her posting like, "Hey, these are the messages I've got." I've seen her not comment about the response to the.
She hasn't said anything about the fans as a whole. She's just saying like, getting these types of DMs is bullshit, but she hasn't said my fans are bullshit.
Yeah, she hasn't said that. Disney has. So I do want to make clear. I haven't seen. So if she had, I wouldn't even be bringing this. I wouldn't be bringing up her specific posts about this, because it would just be like, for me, it's like, okay, well, you reap what you sow. You threw out the bait and they took it, but she's stayed out of this. But people still direct message her on her personal social media going at her. So, and I think that's completely wrong. But those individuals who have gone out of their way to act like spiteful children are pathetic and should be ignored promptly. If you have qualms with the series as I do, direct your energy into genuine criticism. Leave reviews, advocate for improvements, and be respectful. If this does not work, stop watching the series, cancel your Disney Plus subscription, and advocate for others to do the same. All of this can be done without going out of your way to harass and belittle those who worked on the show. They are employees. They perform a task in exchange for money, same as you or I do. So that's my take on that. Go after, when it comes to going after a show, don't attack the showrunners. Don't attack the individuals behind it. Unless, of course, if they would do what Disney did as a corporation, post shit like, oh, we resist and we're against these racists. Yeah, fight fire with fire on that situation. But if Moses Ingram is just minding her own business on her own social media and she's posted nothing about this. Leave her alone. Same with Ewan McGregor. Same with Hayden Christensen. Same with any, not just the actors, but anybody who works on it. And again, if you're responding to assertions they're making about us, that's different. But to just DM them and say, like, oh, you're a diversity hire, you're this, you're that, no, that's wrong. 100% of the time.
Which now, let me make one thing actually clear. Let's say, hypothetically, she was diversity hire. I don't know, I haven't watched the show, I don't really give a rat's ass about Disney, but let's just say they hired her just because black woman. So, if she's a good actress, like, would anyone bitch if they hired Samuel L. Jackson as a diversity hire?
No, they technically did. Well, they didn't. He wasn't a diversity hire. He was just a hire, and he was the right hire.
He was the right hire, and he came with demands too. Like, I can't say, I can't say, motherfucker. Damn it, I'm getting a purple lightsaber.
You're giving me a unique lightsaber. Lloyd Lucas made the right decision. Okay.
Oh yeah. And I love that about the but like, again, so what if someone's a diversity hire? If they can do the job and do the job right, what the hell does it matter? Like, for me, and this is something that's actually come up in my own personal workplace, you know, me and my general manager, we were actually joking about this the other day, and he said this as a joke, because he's from a completely different country. He's actually not from the United States. He's
Jamaica,
like,
right?
Yeah, huh?
Is it Jamaica?
I wasn't trying to say that on stream, but yes.
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to keep as little information about my actual workplace off the internet, but most people know. But okay, so he's from Jamaica, so surprise, he ain't white. And and you know, we all kind of have fucked up ways that we joke at work, and sometimes it does pertain to race. And he's like, you know, it's okay, you're white, you don't understand. And he was fucking with me. He didn't mean shit by it. It's just, you know, he's like, it was because he was trying to teach me a lesson, because he's also teaching me how to do the position above me as well as my position below me. So it's kind of like his way of throwing kind of fucked up humor into a teaching lesson. And my initial response to that is like, well, what the fuck does that have to do with it? And that's how I've always looked at it. You know, white, black, yellow, brown, blue, green, what the fuck ever. You know, it doesn't really matter. I've known good white people. I've known bad white people. I've known good black people. I've known bad black people. You know,
forgive my racism, but if you're blue in the face, I'm going to assume you're choking. I apologize for my discrimination, but I will be calling an ambulance.
that would be funny. I will note down the next time I see someone accused of blueface. But no. But in all seriousness, you know. But in all seriousness, you know, like, back to what I was originally saying, like, if someone's a diversity hire, it shouldn't really fucking matter.
The thing is, I will say this: when people say diversity hire, they mean you were only hired for your diversity. You were not hired because you were a good actor.
No. I get that. I do.
That's like the.
But again, I get what you're saying. But let's say they hired Samuel L. Jackson again just because he's a black guy.
Yeah, you could make the argument that he wasn't a diversity hire. He was hired talent. So he was hired by a meritocracy, whereas people are claiming Moses Ingram was hired because she's black. What they're targeting is the motivation, right? Like,
right.
When you call something a diversity hire, it means the motivation behind bringing them on was this. You know.
And again, it goes back to my point of, if they can do their job and do it well, then does it matter that they're a diversity hire?
No.
Like, even if the fact that she was a diversity hire is true, which I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying if it is.
I think in this case, like, it
knowing
probably...
Disney, it probably could have been.
Knowing modern Disney, I'm pretty certain it was. But you're right. No one would care if she was playing the character really well and you, like, felt raw emotion and you felt that she was the best person for the role. Nobody would give a shit. But... And
again, also take this with a massive grain of salt because I haven't seen it. But this goes back to the same thing I said about Ewan McGregor. When I look at her or look at Moses Ingram or Ewan McGregor when it comes to this Kenobi show, I would be much more likely to attest like any flaws that they have as characters, as far as Obi-Wan Kenobi or whatever the fuck her character name is. And I would be much more likely to attest that to the fact of bad writing than I would to them as actors.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminded me what I wanted to look up earlier because I
And
wanted to
bad
see if
directing. Like there are some amazing scripts, but if the director is either complacent or lazy or just doesn't care to do more than a few shots. Because a big part of a performance being good, the thing is, actors like the more you act, the more you do performances and play a character, the more you can do it naturally. But the thing is, directors are in charge of really what you see on screen, because the actor might have good instincts and might be really good at performing well, but they don't know exactly what the vision is of the project without the director there, who is, in many ways, the director is the lens by which the vision of the product is produced. The writers have their idea, but it's the director's job to translate that idea, or even alter it a little bit with their own pizzazz, and put it on screen correctly. So a great director makes a big difference, and that's why, as much as I love George Lucas creating the world of Star Wars, he's not a good director. He's an amazing writer, and I think world builder. I think he's pretty good at that, but he's a terrible director. And you see this most strongly in the prequels. Now, he did direct, he did direct A New Hope, which is one of the better ones. But I always point out that he was probably not surrounded by yes men at that time. He didn't have like this laundry list of credentials that really made people like go, okay, yeah, he knows what he's doing. I don't need to correct him. And if he asked, like, hey, is that good? People around him probably at that point were like, nah, can't change it. And if you hear some of the ideas he had for the original Star, like Yoda was supposed to be, what was it, fucking a frogman of some kind?
Which he kind of was, but...
And he was also supposed to be what the Ewoks eventually became.
That would be hilarious.
He went through, like, a lot of weird ideas. Like, I'd have actually to look him up, but he was told no. Like, it's said right there in his history. Like, when he had a weird idea that just simply was too weird, he was told no. And that's how he came to eventually come to create Yoda. That's how he came to create several other characters and scenes. The man has great, like, wild ideas, but I think he's one of those people that he has so many. He needs someone to act as that focusing lens.
He probably has very ADHD.
Probably. He needed someone to tell him, no, that's stupid. That's too stupid. Let's go with this idea. That's what Lucas needs. And
why didn't anyone stop Jar Jar?
Well, because it was the prequels. People who were working with him on the prequels saw Star Wars, saw how exponentially popular that is. So they were like, well, this guy must know what he's doing. Like that must that's always been my explanation, is he didn't have that person to be like, no, this is a bad take.
Has there been any confirmed reports? Because I'm not actually accusing this, but this is one of the things that would not surprise me at all. But has there ever been any reports of George Lucas like doing acid?
I mean, he's an older guy. Worked in Hollywood.
He's in the older guy, kind of grew up in that era. Would not surprise me at all if he wrote some of those scripts like tripping balls.
But yeah, to try to circle it back to the show.
Sorry. Speaking of tripping balls, Kenobi.
Yes, Kenobi. So yeah, the general response has been fairly negative for the most part. I will say this: episode 1 and 2. 1, I saw a lot of positivity initially, and even myself, I kind of liked episode 1. There were bits about it that irritated me, and I'll get into those in the spoiler talk. But generally speaking, I liked episode 1 for the most part. Episode 2, it started to knock me off the wagon. Like there was, it had the stuff I didn't like in episode 1 only got exacerbated in the next episode, and they added more stuff that I really didn't like. To the point where it pretty much knocked me off the wagon. In episode 3, I'm off the wagon. Not only am I off the wagon, I hit a springboard, got flung to the moon, bounced off the moon, dived into the ocean. High five Cthulhu on my way to the core of the earth. Like, I am off. I'm not. There was like the shit that they did. I'm sorry. Like, I am not happy. I am not happy with episode 3. But that being said, we'll get into that. So, let's see, what can I point out without it being a spoiler? I gotta be careful how I tote the words. Acting and performances. I'll do it like this. I'll do it by category. In terms of performances, I will say that I find Moses Ingram. Well, we'll start with her since we were just talking about her and her character.
Yeah.
Her character Reva is an Inquisitor. Again, this is no spoiler. This is all first few minutes of the first episode. Nothing that's a reveal.
Right.
She's playing a bad guy. Her performance thus far, and I will say this, I personally think it's a script because I watch it with subtitles, and I had paused the first episode a couple times and just read the text. I was like, okay, if I read this in my own head and kind of separate it from her delivery, does it sound better? And there are a couple lines where I'm like, okay, if I read this in a book, I could envision it being enunciated or being stated more profoundly or stated more poignantly. In her delivery, it was a little bit more dry, or she felt a bit hollow in her delivery. That did happen a couple times, but generally speaking, most of her lines weren't stuff that even if I read separated from her, sounded right.
It sounded any better.
It didn't fit any better with or without her. So I do think a majority of it is a script. And there are a couple times where I felt like she was being directed pretty well. She was emoting correctly. I'd say episode 1, I felt it was kind of the Hayden's situation, where back in the prequels he was poorly directed and he had a terrible script, right? But in those silent moments where he's not saying anything and he's just
it wasn't that bad
when he's just being Anakin Skywalker or he's being Proto Vader. Like in the duel in Mustafar when he and Obi-Wan are just like exchanging glances. You see Darth Vader in that look. Like, he's got that menace.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's kind of like that with Moses. It's kind of like that with her a little bit in a couple scenes. Like, I feel like when she's quiet and she's giving, like, that investigative look around, and when I see her, like, just move, I think she physically plays the role well. I don't think, like, she doesn't at any point look like she's, like, physically is out of place.
Would it be too much of a stretch to assume that the reason that she comes off as hollow or dry because she knows that the writing isn't up to par, and even though she might enjoy the character or wants to do it a different way, she's just kind of like, well, fuck it, I'll just do it this way.
Safe to assume, no. There's been no indication that that's the case. No interviews or anything where she was like,
but you know what I mean.
I was given, yeah, I know what you mean, but like, I don't think it's safe to assume. I'd say it's safer to assume that she's a bit of a fish out of water. She probably the first time. I think this might be her first series.
No, it's not her first series, but she has not done.
Yeah, so she's got a small list of credentials to back her up. So I'd say it's more inexperience, and probably the director, which was Deborah Chow, who has directed some good things in Mandalorian, I believe, if I'm thinking of the right episodes. But in this, I think Deborah's. I see a lot more misses than hits for some of directing choices. Actually, no, incorrect. Direction is great. Writing is not. So never mind. I take that back. I'm not gonna throw that on. There's a couple things, but generally speaking, directing I actually think is fine. It's the writing that I absolutely fucking hate.
So in the case of Moses Ingram, she's been in 4 movies, and including Obi-Wan Kenobi, 2 shows.
Oh yeah, that's a small IMDb. So yeah. She's pretty green. So.
Oh my god! You're gonna love this.
What?
This is actually the first time I've seen this. Born in 1993 or 1994. There is no definitive age for her.
Wait, what?
Yes!
That's odd.
You know what's actually scary?
What?
She was born on the East Coast and very close to me. She was born in the state right fucking above me. And I had... Look, okay, I'll put it this way. I'm from Virginia. She's from Maryland. I'm actually 2 or 3 years older than her, so I can kind of understand. How the fuck does no one know your age? For, like, certain.
Well,
by the way,
how old is she at the youngest?
At the youngest, she's either 27 or 28. So that already gives me a little bit more leeway on her kind of dry acting. She's young, inexperienced, you know, so, okay, that's to be expected. If you look back at a lot of actors who started, like, younger than her, even when they got to that point, they were still a little dry or a little almost typecast. Robert Downey Jr., Johnny Depp. Look at Samuel L. Jackson actually got into acting later in life.
If she were younger, if she were like closer to my age, I would say it might. The reason her age, her birth date might not be released, is if she's closer to my age, she might be more internet conscious. And even if you are a celebrity, that doesn't protect you from internet trolls and people going after you. And the less of your personal info that people know, the safer you are, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that'd be my, like, she could be just one of those things where she was like, okay, you know, I'm not gonna tell anybody like my actual birth date outside my employers, and I'm gonna ask them not to share it. That might be the case.
Fair, but like for something like IMDb or Wikipedia, I would think they would still be able to know that.
She might also be already a bit. This is from Karth Korn in the chat. She might also be already a bit dispirited, or disparaged. After all the expectations told her during shooting that her role will probably be proper. Yeah, you mean probably or properly?
No. No, okay, so you misread that, but he misspelled it. She might already be a bit dispirited after all the executives at Disney told her that shooting her role will probably be disliked because of her
several
skin
misspellings
color.
in there.
Yeah,
in English.
that might explain. So and I kind of agree with Karn on this one. They actually did tell her that expect some people just to be assholes because of your skin color, stuff like that. You know, they kind of set her up for failure, like the actual people in charge.
Well, it depends on, do we know when they told her that? Like, if it was, like, right when they hired her, I could definitely see that, but it was, like, mid-shooting.
No, I think it was when they hired her.
Alright, so if we're going with that, then, yeah, that could definitely be an impact on some of her acting. It's still, though, like, it's still the director's responsibility to catch that, though. Like, if she's feeling disparaged on set, and that's hitting her delivery, it's the director's job to go, okay, you know, I know you've received these warnings, you got this kind of weighing on your head. Listen, when you're on my set, you need to be Reva. You're not Moses Ingram. You're Reva. You need to play this character. I need you to get out of your own head. If you need to take a walk, take a breather, you need to talk to me right before shooting, let's do that, but you need to get out of that headspace.
You know what's funny?
And after the first few shots, if she's not doing that, then...
Have you ever heard of that movie, The Bodyguard?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've watched it.
It has Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I probably haven't watched that one.
It is actually an amazing movie. You know what's funny? Only one person pushed to hire Whitney Houston. Everyone else was against it, but only one person pushed for Whitney Houston to get hired. Kevin Costner.
That works.
He said
Well, that works.
He said if they do not hire her, he will not do the movie. And he pushed and pushed, and they were trying to find all these other people. She also had a tour going on. And you know what's funny?
What?
There were worse things said about her when that movie first came out. If I remember right. That's also like a long fucking time ago too.
Yeah, I'm not familiar, so I couldn't chime in on that one.
But like, you know, a lot of people had issue with it. But her role, like, and this is kind of what makes the difference for me. Actually, let me look at when The Bodyguard came out. If I'm not mistaken, Whitney Houston had to be in her early 30s when The Bodyguard came out. If not, possibly younger. Okay, that. Hey, I know why you know nothing about this movie.
Because I'm younger?
The movie is old. Because the movie is older than you.
Well, there's plenty of movies I watched that are from like the 70s and 80s, so.
She was born in 1963. That would make her 29 when she did The Bodyguard. So, and if I remember right, she also didn't do much acting. She was a singer, first and foremost. This is not me saying, like, you know, she was... Actually, no. That was the first movie that she was in. But, you know, let's not... I'm not saying she was a bad actress or anything. It's just up till that point, she was not an actress. She was a singer. And, you know, all these people were playing about it, and people were talking about, you know, her bad performance, you know, the bullshit, and probably worse, fucking lie here, than what Moses Ingram is getting right now. But I believe the difference in caliber is that Whitney Houston didn't, like, to my knowledge, did not make a big thing about it. She didn't. She's like, oh, well, this is just stupid people being stupid. You know, what the fuck ever. It doesn't faze me. And I think that has more to do with society as a whole than, you know, comparing Whitney Houston to Moses Ingram. Because we kind of come to a point where it's like, well, this person said something mean to me, so I'm going to go complain on the internet and have people pity me and shit like that. And it's just kind of, it's honestly fucking sickening. But it's also...
You lose your train of thought?
I'm trying to find out how to word it. Because I kind of want to say it in a really fucked up way, but I'm trying to find a way not to say it in a really fucked up way. Honestly, it's just kind of pathetic, honestly. Because look at some of the stuff other actors, or again, people who weren't actors who got slammed into a role, you know, look at how they were treated, either for poor performances, bad writing, whatever. And how they reacted to it. They took it, in most cases, built something up from it. If they didn't, they probably just didn't act again, or didn't sing, or didn't whatever.
Yeah, that's come a lot with, I think a lot of the counter to that has come with the internet age.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's where, like, that's why I say it's just really pathetic, because it's like,
yeah, well,
again,
it's the give and take of, like, oh, everyone being interlocked and interpersonal communication is now so much more at hand. Like, back in the day, if you wanted to hear Morgan Freeman, or you wanted to hear from James Cameron or any, like, big person in Hollywood, you had to wait for a documentary, or you had to wait for, like, the commentary on a DVD disc.
Oh, absolutely.
Or a TV interview. That was it. Those were the only ways you saw these people or had those pseudo interactions with them. Now,
and by the way,
you see
I would love
every morning.
No, not Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman, I don't think.
But you know what I mean.
But,
like that,
I know you mean.
That gap is no longer there, and with loss of a gap is also the gaining of transparency. Now, where before we only saw these really affluent, talented, good-looking people in Hollywood, now we see all their flaws, because that distance, once that's closed, you see the pores on their skin. Where before you only saw a polish from a distance.
Well, and let's take it a step further.
Although we do kind of gotta zip through this a little bit because we still haven't talked spoilers and we're like 30 minutes in.
Oh no, it's fine. No, like taking it from a different perspective, someone as a kid actor who grew up who's still at younger than her. Let's look at like Daniel Radcliffe. Like when he was doing the 8th Harry Potter movie, or however fucking many it took to get to the end, because there were 7 books, there were not 7 movies.
There were 8 movies.
Last
book split into 2.
No, I don't think it was the only one, because Half-Blood Prince was split into 2, wasn't it?
Nope, that was a whole movie.
Oh, what? So it was just the last one.
Yep.
8
movies, 7 books.
So Daniel Radcliffe, there were issues with him showing up to set fucking drunk. And it's like, you can't really blame him, because when people see him, like, they don't see Daniel Radcliffe, they see Harry Potter. The kid who played Draco Malfoy, he went through a lot of issues. But they didn't let that fucking destroy them, they just took it and ran with it.
I don't know. I would make the argument that what Daniel Radcliffe went through actually did affect him. Because have you seen all the roles he's had since? Like he had a pretty good bit of a career on Broadway doing stage performances. But have you seen the movies he's been in since Harry Potter? He's done some weird shit. Like
he has done some weird shit, but he is good at doing.
I'm not claiming that means like he's mentally unwell. I'm just saying though is like he's gone really off the board with his choice of roles.
Look at fucking Johnny Depp. Apparently, like one of the nicest people in person, the weirdest motherfucker on screen.
One of.
No, he's pretty fucking close to the top for me at this point. One of my
yeah, but he never did a role like Guns Akimbo.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I would still to me that's the style.
In the book, he actually like murdered children.
The thing is, you can't blame like the craziness of Johnny Depp's roles really on him purely, because he really just played the characters in the way that Tim Burton directed him. So I don't know. I put that on Tim. I put that on Tim way more than I put on. Not saying Johnny ain't weird. He is absolutely, but
I'm not going to put that all on Tim, and here's why. In an interview, Johnny Depp was talking about doing Willy Wonka for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He's like, yeah, just come on to set one hand. It's just like, hello, snowballs and gun drops. And like shit like that, doing that in the Willy Wonka voice. And apparently it even freaked out Tim Burton.
I mean, yeah, he's
like, no. It's not just Tim Burton at that point. Tim Burton's a weird motherfucker, I'll give you that.
Okay, I'll say it's 20% Johnny, 80% Tim. How about that?
No, yeah, I'd flip that.
I think it's mostly Tim. He's the one who had the fucking burning dolls and shit at the beginning of that trailer. So I'm sorry, but no, it's Tim. Tim's the weird one there.
Tim's always been the weird one, but you cannot say that his weirdness counteracts Johnny Depp's weird. Look at fucking
enhances. We'll go with enhances, but not doesn't counteract an nation.
Fine, Pirates of the Caribbean. Like Jack Sparrow is like the weirdest motherfucker.
He's weird, but he's not like the same kind though. Like the Tim Burton Johnny Depp weird is like creepy weird, you know. Like what you imagine the kid that sits in the corner with the long dark black hair in front of his face, what he imagines in his little scribbles. That's Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. What Johnny Depp and Jack Sparrow, that's more like the class clown, right? That's just a kid that's trying to make everybody laugh, so he acts weird.
Oh no! I have a better one. The Jack Sparrow one is the class clown. The Tim Burton Johnny Depp combination is the quiet kid wearing his backpack today or not?
Does he have a trench coat? Is he walking towards the school with a bit of a look?
Guys, we need to check on that kid. Like, he ain't doing too hot.
A bit nutty. But yeah, circling back. So
again,
quick, I'll wrap up.
Sorry,
because I don't want to go on a tangent just on Moses. Moses Ingram, she plays a bit stiff, but I think she physically plays the role fine. I just don't like the writing, for one, and for two, her delivery is a bit bad here and there. So, yeah, not a fan of her character, and certainly not a fan of her delivery all the time. But again, physically, I feel like she fits the scene. All right, Ewan McGregor. This is where I keep going back and forth. He's not playing the Obi-Wan we knew from the prequel movies. He's
right.
His voice, for one, is gruffer. So he's playing a bit more of a gruffer.
It's almost like he's aged, like, what, fucking 15 years since the last
It could be, but I do know that a few other actors have gruffed up their voice a little bit for this. So I think, and plus I've listened to the interviews with Ewan and Hayden Christensen and like the strongly agree disagree like video they did together. They sound pretty much like themselves, although Hayden sounds a lot deeper voiced. But otherwise, the two of them sound pretty much along the lines they did back in the day. I don't think their voices have changed that much. Ewan, I think, is just, like with all characters in it, because they're supposed to be older and they're supposed to be, towards those latter years, he's just gruffed up his voice. And what I least like about the Obi-Wan in this show is it doesn't fit what we've understood from Obi-Wan. And again, I'm trying to tote around spoilers. Right. But they've definitely changed the Obi-Wan that I'll just say it like this, should be here at this point in time.
Yeah.
He's very gruff. He's very paranoid, very weak in some ways. Kind of sketchy. But certain parts about him do still feel like Obi-Wan. Like he feels like he's like analyzing most situations when he's walking around. He does still have a level of gravitas with him.
Yeah.
But otherwise, and he feels a bit wise. He does feel wise. Bit of a wise ass, but wise.
Which he always kind of was too.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler. I'll say it doesn't because it doesn't reveal any plot details. The way he's been directed to play Obi-Wan in this one, like the Obi-Wan we know from the prequels, the one that said, "Hello there," just jumping right in front of General Grievous, the one that made a bunch of sarcastic remarks when they got stuck in situations, the one that, while he was imprisoned by Count Dooku, he was just trading verbal barbs despite the fact he was floating right there in a field. That Obi-Wan
like
is not in this show.
Oh, I was going to say, or like the countless times when Hayden Christensen, when Anakin would do like some crazy shit, he'd be like, "Oh, good, we're doing this now."
Yeah, this Obi-Wan I would describe as a coward.
He never really was, though. Actually, that made me think...
This one is a coward. Like, again, I will go into it in spoilers, but this one is a coward. He's straight up afraid to do certain things. He's lost his connection... I almost went there. Moving on. Yeah, Ewan McGregor playing this role...
To intentionally sidetrack, so the original old Obi-Wan passed away. You know who they should get to be the new old Obi-Wan?
Ewan, but give him white hair?
No. Anthony Hopkins.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
I will argue this all day, yes.
I will argue against this all day, no.
It would be great!
No, it would not.
Why not?
I love Anthony Hopkins, but no, he would not make a good Obi-Wan.
He would! He would make an amazing Obi-Wan.
No.
He would make an amazing Obi-Wan because
what similarities does he have with Alec Guinness?
That's why he would be perfect for it. He has no similarity to it. He would make it his own.
It's not about making it your own. The character's defined. That's kind of my problem with Ewan's characterization of this one.
But what does Ewan McGregor have in common with Anthony Guinness?
Anthony Hopkins or Alec Guinness?
Alec Guinness, sorry, I got that completely
actually
fucked
quite
up.
a lot. Like if you can see a side by there are people who put up videos about it, but there's side by side between his performance as Obi-Wan in the prequels and against Alec Guinness's performance as Obi-Wan in the original trilogy, and he's actually definitely He's modeled his performance off of Alec Guinness's performance. He talks the same way, same accent.
Okay, that's fair. I
Like he
want to
does.
be wrong.
Well, I'm sorry, but you are.
I don't care. I think Anthony Hopkins would be great. Anthony Hopkins would be a fucking amazing Jedi, only because like in the back of your mind, like everyone would assume he's a Sith, but he would just be like the perfect Jedi for that reason.
Okay.
Like this motherfucker gonna go off and kill people. Like, no, Obi-Wan. Take that back. This motherfucker did go out and kill someone. No, he's been drinking tea all day. What?
I'm sorry. I don't want Hannibal Lecter to play Obi-Wan.
Hannibal Obi-Wan. Hannibal Kenobi. Yes.
I don't.
We must have this now.
Oh my god, you are by yourself on that fucking island, my friend.
I don't care.
Anyway,
Hannibal Kenobi. We will make this happen.
So, Hayden Christensen, we've seen. I think anyway. We've seen him a couple times. He hasn't had a lot to do yet, so I can't even really comment on his performance this far.
Hayden Christensen. Let me look.
I haven't seen him in the show so far. He's in the show. I think he's playing the physical actor of Darth Vader.
What? What?
It's hard. He's definitely not voicing him. I
mean, no shit, he shouldn't be. But here's the problem: Hayden Christensen's like what? Maybe 6 feet tall.
I think
Darth Vader was like 7 something.
No, it wasn't 7. That's.
Yes, he fucking was.
No, he was over 6 foot, but he wasn't 7.
Okay. Okay.
Let's say his height. Height.
Oh no, I am actually fucking really.
Hayden is 6 foot.
Oh, 6 foot 8 inches. I was.
Yeah. So there you go. He's not 7. He's almost there, but he's not 7.
Okay, so no. When he's portrayed by David Prowse in Star Wars at 6 foot 8, the original answer it has is Hayden Christensen's height, which is 6 foot 2, which is completely fucking useless to what I was trying to find out.
Nah. But yeah, so
Wow.
I can't really comment on Hayden's performance unless I'm absolutely 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be what I saw in. Again, that's pretty close to a spoiler, so I'm not going there. So yeah. Hayden can't comment. The guy who played the head Inquisitor dude, he actually had some gravitas to him. I liked him. I can't say any more because, again, spoilers. I liked his performance.
Hold on a minute.
Let's see. But yeah, pretty much everybody else is, they're playing their characters okay. The direction's okay.
Rupert Friend? The Inquisitor?
Why are you looking everybody up?
Because.
Well, what is that gaining you?
Because I want to know who the fuck these people are!
Okay. It won't really matter. So yeah, performances. Well, I guess we'll leave there. Performances are that's a descriptor. Plot. I hate the plot. I will say that. I hate the plot. I didn't hate it when like the initial idea was presented, as long as they did it right, but they're doing it horribly. So and the way everything is shown and the course of events, I hate it so far. I really hate it. That's all I can really say about it, because that's the biggest. I can't say any of it. That's be a spoiler. Visual effects. The visual effects are pretty good. I actually really like the visual effects so far. That's the main positive I can give. It looks good. Looks good. They chose their sets well. Practical effects that are in the show are really good. Lightsabers look nice. Flame effects, stuff like that. Yeah, generally everything, visual effects and CGI, on point. They're on point. Costumes are great. Again, filming sets, pretty good.
Did you see the Hitman Agent 47 movie?
Yes.
He played Agent 47.
Yeah, I know. Wasn't a bad role.
That's. I was wondering why it sounded familiar. That's why I'm looking this shit up. Mostly because I'm trying to figure out who these people are in case I've seen them in something else. So I know if they're a good actor in a bad role or a bad actor in a meh role.
Alright, so I pretty much zoomed past the non-spoilers, so let's just jump right into spoilers. Because, oh boy.
They got Ice Cube.
Here's your spoiler warning. If someone needs like a visual of the spoilers, let me do this. Nope, I can't do that. That won't work. Spoilers. This is spoilers. I will put a timestamp post stream. Spoilers. If you don't want to know the specific events in this show, get off the stream now. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I fucking hate a lot of the deliveries with Moses Ingram's character. All right, so let's go over each episode. No, Ludus, you need stop laughing. You need to hear the misery.
The reason I'm laughing is because it's like 3, 2, 1. Okay, no pause, no breath taken. Right into this is what pisses me off.
I've been holding it in for like the non-spoilers. All right. So first episode, right? First episode of this series starts off good. I stand by that. Like in a bottle. Looking back, it starts off pretty good. Starts off with a recap of the prequels, right? It literally has a montage, like almost, I want to say it's like 5 minutes, like a 5-minute recap of the prequels, which, by the way, I find so beautiful that they put that there, because in their own compilation summing up the prequels, they include information that this show directly contradicts. Such as Yoda telling Obi-Wan that he was going to teach him how to commune with Qui-Gon. It has been a theme all 3 episodes that Obi-Wan has been trying to reconnect with Qui-Gon, and he's gotten no response. So clearly he wasn't taught how to do it by Yoda.
You know why he hasn't been able to just talk with Qui-Gon? I actually have a very simple answer for that.
So do I, but I have the actual answer. But what's your estimation?
Because Liam Neeson's too fucking expensive for Disney Plus.
Didn't he retire? No, I don't think he's retired.
No,
I didn't know. I haven't seen him in a major role in years. So last major thing I saw him in was one of the Taken sequels. Anyway,
he's done stuff after the Taken, I believe.
I can't remember anything else he's done. If he has, it's totally good.
Yeah, like he's still like in like filming.
I don't know. With any other studio, you might have a point, but this is Disney. They have money to burn the world with, okay?
Okay, Liam Neeson has morals and won't be hired by Disney.
Maybe that's the case. I doubt it, though. He's in Hollywood.
No, actually, homie, I just lied. Oh, no, he did the voice. Okay. Well, I still just lied. He did do something for Disney recently.
Okay.
In Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, he did the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes. But yeah, so the actual reason is, we'll go into it a bit more, but Obi-Wan has lost his connection to the Force, intentionally. He completely cut himself off, which I criticized that same exact idea that was in Jedi Fallen Order with the, what's her name? The mentor figure for Cal in the ship. She also cut herself off, which, if you know anything about Star Wars, you don't just cut it off. Like, everyone's always connected to the Force. You can't cut yourself off from it, technically speaking. If you mean you don't use it, or you choose not to use it for so long you forget how to, that's different. But you can't actually cut yourself off from it. Because it's literally...
Not true.
No, that is true. Because it's literally
it's
the spiritual lifeblood of the universe. That's how it's been described. You
okay,
cannot cut yourself off. Non-Force users are connected to the Force.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but... Okay. So you're talking about literally cutting yourself off from the Force, but what has happened with Obi-Wan Kenobi has absolutely been done before, from what you're describing. Again, I've seen, but to cut off like a force sensitive's ability to
That's what I
use
just said. That's a difference, though. But you shouldn't describe that as cutting yourself off from the force, because you're not.
That's how they've always described it.
Well, it's not
literally
correct.
how they've always described it.
That's not correct, though.
Whether it be voluntarily cutting yourself off.
Kenneth Coin, that's no longer canon. That's no longer canon. By Disney's own assertion, that is no longer canon.
Yeah, well, fuck Disney. They can get the hell over it. And it happened in both Knights of the Old Republic 2 and 1.
We can't use any of the books that Disney hasn't written. We can't use any of the books to reference lore. We can't use any of the old comics, which depresses me so fucking much. We can't use any of the old comics. We can't use the video games, which means we can't use KOTOR 2. We can't use The Force Awakens. The Force Unleashed. I am so sorry to that series now. We can't use Force Unleashed 2. We can't use any of the old... I think they were Point and Clink.
If I remember right, though,
games.
Force Unleashed and Unleashed 2 were non-canon to begin with.
Yeah, they were, but they always had an element to them that felt like it could be canon.
Yeah, that could be, but I think even when they were first created, it was announced that they weren't going to be canon.
That's fair, but we can't use but KOTOR 1 and 2. I know either were canon or were never confirmed whether they weren't or were.
I am going to treat it the exact same way I treat 40K. I don't give a shit if Disney says they're non-canon, and here's why. If it makes sense, it's at least canon plausible. That shit makes sense.
Oh,
and
we can use the Darth Bane series, by the way, because they did canonize that. Recanonize? What would you call that? Because they decanonized...
Recanonized.
Yeah, because they decanonized everything, but then they canonized Darth Bane, so I was like...
But, so in KOTOR and KOTOR 2, in both games, there are instances of the main character...
You know what, we can't use Jedi Academy either. That is so sad.
Knights of the Old Republic 1, the main character was forcefully cut off from the Force by someone else. In Knights of the Old Republic 2, they undergo severe trauma off from. So, using that, yes, it is possible. I agree with you that that's not exactly what it is, but for simplicity's sake, I understand why it's called what it is.
Alright, fair. Well, for simplicity's sake, we'll just roll with it. I still don't like that phrasing, though.
No, I get what you're saying, because everything's connected to the Force.
Literally everything. Like, you can't cut yourself off from it.
And in Knights of the Old Republic 2, there's actually a conversation about that with one of the party members, where you actually talk with them because they're a smuggler, and they talk about, using... And they talk about... I've already explained my not giving a shit about what
but I'm just saying, like, in terms of the show, we definitely can't apply it.
No, but I'm saying I'm not applying the actual event from KOTOR. I'm using how they explain the science of the mystical, magical bullshit in the game as to how it could affect this, even though it's still considered non-canon. So if they're treating the Force the same way, it should work the same way.
I will say this: Obi-Wan never explicitly says he cut himself off. It's actually more implied he just didn't practice. Like, he's just not. He hasn't used lightsabers. He hasn't used the Force. The only thing he's done in terms of the Force, and this is why I think technically he hasn't cut himself off, even by the simplistic meaning, is because he has tried to communicate with Qui-Gon. Like, he's tried to meditate and get in contact with his spirit. So that's why it's still confusing even in that regard.
Yeah, like, if that does make it something completely different. But, so, what I was trying to say is, like, you talk with the smuggler, and they say, I can't use Force abilities. Spoiler for, like, a fucking 10, 20-year-old game. You can actually turn all your party members into Jedi, or Force sensitive, either Jedi or Sith, and you can actually train them to become a Jedi as well. But you actually have the conversation of, even non-Force users, non-Force sensitives, in some respect, either touch or interact with the Force through their natural abilities. And that's what you were saying. And through that conversation, it leads up to where you can eventually train them to be a Force sensitive. Now, as to how it relates to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, if the Force works the same way, fucking would think, is that if a Force, in this sense, a Force sensitive can go without practice and without stuff like that and eventually cut themselves off from the Force. Or they, or in the case of, like I said, KOTOR 1, have, like, mental blocks put in place where they are essentially cut off from the Force until those are removed. It's they do a lot of MacGuffins in both games, so it's kind of hard to word it anyway specifically. But, and again, like in the case of Obi-Wan, where he is not using Force powers, not using lightsabers, that makes the sense that he, again, cut himself off from the Force, except for the trying to get in touch with Qui-Gon. That turns into selectively using Force powers, which makes him less of a coward and more just irresponsible.
No, the coward thing is separate, and I'll explain that. But yeah, after the recap with the prequels, the show immediately jumps into showing younglings practicing in the Jedi Temple with a mentor. To which, as they're in the middle of waving their little lightsabers and doing the thing, immediately, like, the camera pans to the door opens, and a stormtrooper, a clone trooper of the 501st with the blue pattern immediately walks in and starts shooting at them, and their teacher blocks the shots and kills him, and then they immediately start to make for their escape. And they kind of does this cool shot, I'll admit, where they're kind of panning into the Jedi Temple as it's under siege, and we're seeing a different perspective of the clones shooting up the Jedi. Now, before we go any further, here's another tangent. This one's going to last a few minutes. I already warned you guys.
Hold on 1 second. I want you to look at your DMs.
No. Seriously, we can't go on a tangent of a tangent right now.
Oh, no. This isn't a tangent of a tangent. But this will make you laugh.
All right, hurry up. Yeah, people already. Actually, fun fact: Twitter got mad at them for that. That was a thing. So.
Okay.
It's a Gundam did a video about it. Watch it. Lots of Twitterites got fucking furious because that came out shortly after that situation.
Yeah. That's actually hilarious.
That was very unfortunate. So, but yeah, they pan out. What I hate most about this is how they portray, and it carries on after this into the show, how they portray lightsaber fights. Why is it Disney refuses to emulate the lightsaber battles in the prequels? Because the one thing, and I will argue this till the cows come home, the one objective improvement the prequels made over the original trilogy, and is certainly better than what Disney has done with it, because if you ask me, what Disney has done with lightsaber duels is a regression, is the lightsaber duels. Is how lightsaber combat is shown between Force users. It's fast, it's swift, it's aggressive. It feels like a martial art, but it always had a consistency. Now it's Tai Chi with a stick.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, like she moves with this like, not like fast, like blocks and cuts. And no, it doesn't look like Ataru. It doesn't look like Sarisu. It doesn't like Shucho or Form 1, I believe. It doesn't look like any of the lightsaber forms we've seen on display, and that have been constantly. And yes, I know technically that book that talks about the lightsaber forms is now Legends, but it doesn't look like any of the lightsaber combats we've seen in the prequels or in the Clone Wars series / cartoon movie. We don't. It doesn't look like any of that. It doesn't even look like it was from Rebels. This is just pure like Tai Chi, like. And she even does like these weird like rotations with it. It doesn't look like at all what we've seen before. And I'm not gonna complain necessarily just on that nature, but it just doesn't feel as cool. Like it feels like they literally just gave a Tai Chi master or a stick and said, "Hey, like fight with this stick." It doesn't look like everything we've seen up down. It doesn't even look like the original trilogy form of lightsaber combat, which felt more like samurai jabs and stuff. It doesn't even feel like that. It just feels completely disconnected from everything we've seen up till now. And I really don't like it. Like, I don't like this weird shift where they got to feel like they have to completely neglect how lightsaber combat was displayed before now. And another thing is, with like you know how every year there's you know how there's like major like lightsaber combat and choreography communities, right? Now there's a tournament that's held like every single year where people submit like videos of themselves doing lightsaber duels with like I'll pull this up. Hold on.
Oh no.
Let's pull up the showcase. So okay,
Well, I mean, like a good example would be like take away, make it like an actual sword fight, like we're seeing, like just from a newer show, Witcher. Make that lightsabers, and that would be better.
I would do actually think it would be better in that case, but
Henry Cavill, couldn't anyone with a lightsaber would be better. Let's just be fucking.
That'd be great. But yeah. So I actually pulled this up. Ivan Ortega made a side by side of the of lightsaber fights in the sequel trilogy versus prequels. And I'm not gonna play the audio out of respect, but if you could see it like right here, where it's these like weird like heavy like hits with the lightsaber. It's not fast. It's not as fast, not as fluid. It doesn't feel as tactical. And some people have criticized the prequels like fast lightsaber combat as like, oh, well, that doesn't feel realistic. They're fucking Force users. They're fucking Force users, guys. Like that. What I always liked about the prequels' objective improvement on lightsaber duels is it made it clear that yes, a normal person couldn't face off with these people in lightsaber combat.
Yeah, and another thing too, and also going back to KOTOR, that's brought up too. And I love this because I forgot where I heard this, but I heard this joke about the Mandalorians' way they fight. You know, so they come upon the Jedi, and Jedi are like, "Yeah, we can deflect blasters." Oh, okay, here's some fucking buckshot. Lightsabers can't deflect buckshot, by the way. But no, so the thing is with the lightsabers, and I think this might have a lot to do with what's going on with the newer stuff. If they are changing the lightsabers they use for filming, they could be a lot fucking heavier, and that might have a lot to do with it. That's about the only thing I could think of. Honestly, that would make sense.
Yeah. And, well, they haven't done that, though. And...
Because the originals in the original trilogy were literally just like the paper towel tubes with like a little bit of reflective tape on them. And they were CGI'd in. So they were really lightweight. And I think they did something similar with prequel. Now, if they're actually using like a physical, not really blade, but a physical stand-in and CGIing over that would cause it to get heavier. And this goes to the concept of when fighting with swords. You know, yeah, you can do a fuck ton of swings with like a light short sword, but you better make sure if you're using like a claymore, it's going to hit. And I think that's kind of the same concept, is that weight difference. Now, is that the actual reason? I don't know. But that's what it kind of seems like.
Well, that's not... no, as far as I'm aware, that's not been an explanation.
Maybe they just have stupid choreography.
It's... yeah.
I mean, like... But no, like... But you understand what I'm saying, that, like, if they actually use something heavier, like, it will be very taxing on your hand and wrist, especially when you go into it, like, all the way down to about right here. But if it's very lightweight, say maybe like half a pound to maybe a pound most, it won't be that bad. But if you start taking up to like 3-4 pounds, that's when you're just like moving your wrist around, rotating it, like you kind of see these guys doing right now because I'm behind on the fucking stream.
Yeah.
You know, when you up it from half a pound all the way up to like 3-4 pounds, that will take a toll quickly.
Yeah, it's... Alright.
You just wanted to get to that part.
Yes. Your devil advocacy apart, I really hate what they're doing with lightsaber combat.
Oh no, absolutely. Now it could also be bad choreography. Devil's advocacy aside. Again, mine is less on the actors on that one. And it's more of the equipment they're using. But that could be that in combination with bad choreography, which in both cases, both are bad choices for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think it's bad choreography. That's my argument.
I honestly can't tell. And the reason I say like
the other explanation is I think they're trying to distance themselves from the previous Star Wars products, while still being Star Wars.
Yeah, and the reason I was saying with the because the way I kind of imagine their lightsabers look when they're using them for combat.
Oh, you froze for me. I don't know why that is. Hold on.
I don't know either.
Oh no, never mind. There it goes.
Okay. But for like the Star Wars combat currently, I could actually see them like having not necessarily like steel, but maybe like a piece of aluminum coming out, so you know when it makes contact.
What they've always had on set is this long wire.
Right, and that's why I'm thinking maybe they changed that. Like devil's advocacy aside, because I'm not saying that that's the reason. It's that would be a director slash almost like choreography department fuck up.
It's a fuck up they've had consistently though since the sequel trilogy. They've had it in all of their TV series so far, including this one. Hey, it's an egregious one in my opinion because the way Disney has portrayed lightsaber combats, it's like you or I could be on par dueling wise with a Jedi or a Sith, because it's slow, it's heavy, it's wide swings. It doesn't. There's like no technique with it. Like they don't look like they're trying to kill the other person. They look like they're trying to meet each other at the saber each time, which is very. It just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel as good at all as the prequels. Now, say what you will about the Revenge of the Sith duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin, which was really long, admittedly. But even that, I'd say that, as long as it is, as kind of ridiculous as it is at some points, still felt way better to watch, and you felt more excited watching that than any of the duels in the sequel trilogy, and certainly here in this series. Even though there's only been one duel. I would love to see... did you ever watch the Witcher series on Netflix? Yeah, I watched both seasons.
Okay, I haven't seen the second season yet. I need to. I don't have fucking time!
It's not as good as the first season.
No second season has ever been as good as...
Parts of it are better, but generally not as fun.
Do you remember, like, I think it was the first episode when he, when they have that witch in that city and he ends up killing her with, like, the knife?
Yeah.
I want them to have, like, a lightsaber, like, that long, like, the size of a long knife, essentially. Just so, like, as they're fighting, the sneaky shit Sith can just pull it out and just stab someone with it.
Like
it's still a lightsaber. Yeah, shorter than a Tonto.
Tonto's like that.
I can't see. There it is. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. But, like, just pull it out and, like...
It's like a letter opener.
Yeah, but something like that size. Because no Jedi or Sith, realistically, would see that shit coming.
Well, not by Disney canon.
No.
By old canon. I don't even think by old... No, yeah, by I old don't even canon, think by old canon. No, by old canon. By old canon, a huge part of lightsaber duels, in fact, was... it was sensing each other's movements. That's, again, why a normal person picking up a lightsaber and trying to fight a Jedi or a Sith. It wasn't just that you had a lightsaber. It's your connection to the Force, because a huge part of their duels back and forth was being able to sense the flow of the Force with their opponent. The Jedi were constantly describing their duels with Sith as a duel of emotion. It wasn't. Yes, it was about blocking, parrying, and actual technique. But another huge part of it was taking advantage of their emotions and taking advantage and predicting what they do next. And the Sith did the same thing. The only difference is the Sith had one disadvantage in that regard, is if they became too overruled by their emotions, instead of channeling those emotions, they stopped being able to predict the Jedi's movements. They were taken off balance and were defeated. Almost all Sith that were defeated by a Jedi were defeated in essentially an emotional attrition. Their control of their rage, their control of their anger that fuels their fighting prowess took over, and they got blindsided by themselves.
Carneth Corn pointed out something funny. Something I said about the Mandalorians and the Jedi. The Jedi can block buckshot. They just gotta deal with the molten lead afterwards. which is a funny damn thought if you think about it. Oh, I'll block this projectile. Put lightsaber in the way. Oh shit, all I did was melt it. I need to get... Oh shit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it starts the episode, they show that sequence, and the Jedi that defended them, the mentor lady, she kills a couple troopers and then gets killed herself, and then the 6 kids just run out. And they run past some carnage and shit, and they're alive, and I'm like, okay. And I can't remember if one of them was supposed to be a young Reva. I think so. I think I remember seeing one of them that looked like she was supposed to be a younger version of her. But so the implication is that her and possibly the other Inquisitors are those kids, which makes sense because the Inquisitor lore, which was introduced in Rebels, was that these are essentially indoctrinated younglings or Padawans or former Jedi that Sidious/Vader took in and turned them to the dark side, but instead of making them full Sith, basically just turned them dark, and then that's it. Like, they didn't teach them how to use powers of the Sith. They didn't teach them how to control their anger. They basically just gave them red lightsabers and some basic training, and then outside of that, sent them out to kill other Jedi. Like, that's all Inquisitors are. They're not Sith. They're Force sensitives that were trained to be hateful and trained to kill Jedi in the sense of finding them down and killing them, but they weren't taught to be proper Sith. They can't use Force lightning. They don't even really know how to use Force choke. And it's actually displayed in Rebels that they actually are terrible combatants against trained Jedi. Like, Ahsoka, when she faced them in Rebels, she completely bodied them. Against Maul, they had no shot. Maul killed like 3 of them. But against...
Well, Maul has always been, like, fucking amazing.
They're realistically, Inquisitors are at the level of a Padawan or a really low-level acolyte for a Sith. They are weak.
There is a name for what the Inquisitors are. It's called cannon fodder.
Pretty much.
They go in, they weaken the Jedi, and then the Sith comes in, gets all the glory, all the credit.
They're the Force-sensitive cannon fodder of the Sith outside of the Stormtroopers.
Well, I was just thinking, in Knights of the Old Republic 2, there are prestige classes for your main character. So you can choose to be, you start off as like a Jedi Sentinel, Guardian, or Counselor, and that determines how your playstyle is. Do you want to be able to hit things really well? Do you want to be able to hack through anything? Or do you just want to be a Force user and be the squishiest of squishies? Now, there are light side and dark side variants when you get your prestige class, and that made me think of the prestige for the Sith, the Assassin. But after you described it, no, that's not it at all.
Sith Inquisitors are trained badly so they can never challenge their Sith Master. Yes, that's why. The idea is that they're meant to hunt down the Jedi, but they're not meant to actually rise to be anything. Once the Jedi are all gone, or believed to all be gone, Vader and Sidious annihilate them. That's always been kind of the lore. So the Inquisitors don't even really know that, or if they do, they guess they accept it. But yeah, they're Force cannon fodder. By
the way, hey, a news article that literally just came up that I think you might be interested in.
We're probably gonna make it through episode 1, aren't we?
No.
What is it?
The Depp Heard case.
If it's not the verdict, I don't care.
It is the verdict.
Oh, what's the verdict?
$15 million awarded to Johnny Depp in defamation.
Awarded to, or he has to pay?
Awarded to.
Yes! He won, baby! Woo! Although the ACLU are trying to sue him, which is kind of fucked up.
Why are they? What the? What?
Oh, you missed that?
Whatever. Yeah, I did miss that.
They're trying to sue him for $80,000 because they were asked to spend 5 minutes and look up receipts from Amber Heard that didn't exist. And apparently that took so much effort that now now they want $80,000 from him, because apparently that was $80,000 worth of effort. Unless something happened, as far as I know, they can.
Oh, hold on a minute. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. This is actually kind of funny. Johnny Depp won his defamation trial against Amber Heard, and Amber Heard lost her countersuit. Here's where it's not so good. Johnny Depp was awarded $17 million in damages, amended by the judge to $320,000.
How do you call that an amended? That judge is a cunt.
Depp was awarded $10 million in compensatory damage, $5 million punitive damage. The jury also awarded Heard $2 million in compensatory damages.
She shouldn't have gotten a cent.
Well, I think that's why he's only getting 15. But yeah, huh.
But where is she getting her money from? Johnny? If he won, she shouldn't be getting any money from him.
I think it's kind of...
Doesn't make sense.
It's a Virginia court. Look, I fucking live here. None of this shit makes sense.
That doesn't make a lick of sense. If there's a winner and a loser in the court, the loser gets nothing. That's the point.
So neither one of them got the full amount. He sued for $50 million. She countersued for $100 million. He got, like I said, $10 million.
If the countersue failed, then it failed. That means she shouldn't get a cent. That just makes no sense.
I don't know what there's compensation for, though. That's what I'm trying to fucking figure out.
It is awarded by the court. That's different. The court's offering her money, the courts are not exactly known for just offering money. But usually they get their money from somewhere. Where are they getting the $2 million from?
It's compensation for what? I don't fucking know. I read to you literally all the article said.
Send me the article.
God damn it, because I didn't know my phone. Oh wait, I can do it from my phone again. I'm stupid. If anyone ever wonders what it's like to be that far overworked, this is what it looks like. I would like to please.
Anyway, zipping through episode 1. Episode 1 after that shows Obi-Wan in the desert, living his life a little bit. He works as a butcher, steals some meat for his camel thing. Can't hear you.
No, that was more me thinking aloud to myself when you said he works as a butcher.
Yeah. Yeah, he works as a butcher on Tatooine. Steals a slice of meat every day for his camel thing. Lives in a cave, not a house, which I thought was a weird change, because we know he has a house in the original trilogy.
I screenshot it because I couldn't find it. But I'm about to do it on the computer too, so I can actually.
Where's the $2 million coming from? That doesn't make any sense. Compensatory damages. Okay, but who's doing the compensation? Is it Johnny? This is a really tiny article. Two different cases? Oh, okay. Yeah, she shouldn't. Taxpayer? Fuck that. Wouldn't surprise me, though. It's America. Anyway. Alright. Alright. Yeah, let's, we can't keep talking about that, though, because we've barely made it through episode 1. So, yeah, episode 1 continues, skipping ahead a little bit. Shows Obi-Wan on Tatooine. There's a sequence where in his cave home instead of an actual home, which again he had a house in the original trilogy, and this show takes place 7 years before the original trilogy. So where the fuck is his house? Because he does have one. I'm confused. So he's hanging out in his cave. A Jawa, right? Yeah, Jawa visits him. Sells him some stuff, including the replica toy spacecraft that Luke has in the original trilogy, which, you know, safe to assume he gifted him that. And there's this guy. I do want to say this was funny to me. Some people who really don't like the series have said this was a really shit joke. I thought it was funny, but Obi-Wan says, "Oh well, my filtration system or my air system is not working very well. Someone stole a part." And the Jawa was like, "Oh, I have just the part." And he's like, "I'll sell you this." And he's like, and he says the Jawa's name. He says, "If you're going to steal my pots from me and sell them back to me, the least you could do is clean them." And the Jawa goes, "Cleaning costs extra." I thought that was a giggle, but everybody else was raging about it. It's like, "Oh well, Obi-Wan would have slammed him against the wall with the Force." I'm like, you don't know this character very well, do you? He's a Jedi. They don't do that. That'd be a Sith move. Don't get me wrong, the little shit. I definitely would have kicked the little shit, but not Obi-Wan, not a Jedi. They let that shit go typically. So, with the exception of Anakin, who killed the Sand People. But to be fair, his motivation there I sympathize with. They did beat on his mom to death.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that sequence happens, and at one point, Obi-Wan is spying on Luke with glasses, like magnifying glasses, scopes, watching him, seeing he's a little kid running around, Uncle Owen.
I don't know if you're intentionally saying it that way, but you're making it sound creepier than what I hope it is.
It wasn't creepy, but it was. Okay. I just find the phrasing more funny. So,
okay. No. As long as you did that intentionally because it sounded funny and not because that's what actually was fucking happening. Creepy shit. That's two different things.
No, he wasn't doing this thing where he was like, "Yeah, grow up fast, boy. We got some training to do."
See, no. That's not okay. That's not okay, even as a joke. No.
I was saying, that's not how I was imagining it when I phrased it to you. But since you said that, he wasn't doing that.
No, because that's how you said it. He's sitting there watching Luke with these glasses from afar, like, what the?
He was. It just wasn't.
It sounded like that thing, and you'll get the joke. A lot of people will get this joke. It sounds like you could almost read him like a map.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Not funny now, is it?
Anyway.
That's Family Guy Star Wars with Herbert Kenobi.
Anyway, he drops off the toy jet in front of their house after the sun went down. And the next day is kind of the repeated schedule. Although this time while he's in town, the Inquisitors arrive. And this is where we first see Reva and the Grand Inquisitor and also the other two Inquisitors. And there's this big speech from the Grand Inquisitor, which is, again, why I kind of grew to like the character initially. He's like, "Oh, the Jedi hunt themselves." And he's basically standing in a Tatooine bar, not I don't think it's supposed to be Mos Eisley, but it might be Mos Eisley. But he's in a Tatooine village town. He's in one a bar or a restaurant establishment. He's talking to the bar owner, who's looking really freaked out. He's like, "You may want to protect him because he is nice and kind to you." And I'm like, that's typically the motivation to protect someone, especially if they're a stranger. But then Reva, at one point, while he's giving this monologue, which, quite frank, the monologue had a lot more characterization than any bit of Reva's behavior throughout the show. So I learned more about the Grand Inquisitor's personality in like this 5-minute conversation than I've learned about Reva in 3 episodes. But she throws like a straight up knife. I think it was supposed to be a vibroblade, but it might have just been a knife. Right at the bar owner's face, and it stops right here, and then it like the pander cams, and there's this guy in the corner. And the whole time it's kind of like it gives you this vibe that they're talking about Obi-Wan, but it turns out it's this other guy who's like a Jedi. And the Inquisitors are right there. There's like 3 or 4 of them. They could completely block the only way in and out of this place. But instead, this guy gets up and like runs and like does this like whip around like under a table. Reva stops and gets in front of him, like ignites a lightsaber. He gets around her. And to get away from them, he does the oh-so impossible move of using the Force to bring back down a curtain in front of the door, which they could easily go around. And he somehow escaped. So you can tell these guys are really good at the job. And that guy runs off, and the episode kind of continues. Like Obi-Wan doesn't doesn't try and help him or anything. Just episode kind of continues from there. And I haven't watched the episode in a couple days, but after that, I don't know the order. I can't remember the order of events, but I think after that, I think the thing that happens after that is the Inquisitors are looking for the Jedi in the village while Obi-Wan is still there, and they're asking around for him. And Uncle Owen shows up and like throws the bag that contained the toy plane that Obi-Wan had dropped off for Luke, and throws it at his feet, and stands there, and he's like, we don't want anything from you. You stay away from the boy. Staying. I'm keeping him safe. He's basically my kid now. So you're staying away. And Obi-Wan's like, but when the boy comes of age, he must be trained. And the guy just leans against Uncle Owen leans against the wall and goes, like, you trained his father? Burn! Okay. And the thing is, after this line is said, though, honestly, the only thing that came to mind is Obi-Wan's not fit to train him at all. Like, he hasn't practiced in the Force. He hasn't meditated outside of trying to talk to Qui-Gon. He hasn't practiced with a saber. In fact, we find out later in the episode, he buried both his saber and Qui-Gon's, I think, in the desert. Sorry, no, not his saber and Anakin's saber. He buried both of theirs in the desert. So he doesn't even have them on hand.
That's stupid.
So he's not.
It could have been Anakin's lightsaber.
No, it was both of them. It was both his and Anakin's. Were in a box that he buried in the sand.
Well, no, you were saying his and Qui-Gon's.
Well, yeah, but I already corrected that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice that you corrected it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I corrected the sentence following. But yeah, he buried both his and Anakin's out in the desert. So, not only does he not have his house that we see in the original trilogy, but instead of keeping the lightsaber safe, in the original trilogy, he kept it in like a fucking trunk, which is an oh-so-safe location. But that's still safer than a box that I've wrapped in a cloth and buried it in the desert on a planet that is basically just the Sahara, the desert. So you tell me, yeah, he could find that box at any point, even if there's a sandstorm, which are notorious for completely shifting the terrain. The dumbest place to bury anything, unless you never want it found, is the desert. Because in the terrain, you bury something if you bury something in the Amazon forest, barely anything's going to change. Like a few more trees might grow, but barely anything's going to change. Bury it on an island, barely anything is going to change. You bury something in the desert, you won't be able to find that. I don't care if you're Force sensitive or not. You're not going to be like, oh, I buried it over here. So even if you do find it, though, you might have buried it 4 feet. After a sandstorm, that might be 7. You might be burying the equivalent of a body.
That might be in a different place.
So it's just like for me, like nobody else has talked about this, which I find weird. It's like it's a desert. Like this is the dumbest place to just bury your sabers. But yeah, like he and Uncle like Owen just confronts him with that burn, and I'm just like, you're not fit to train him anyway. But then the Inquisitors come back and they're asking around about the Jedi. They're like, have you seen the Jedi? And she's like listing out a bunch of threats. She's trying to be intimidating. And this is one of those cases where physically, I thought Moses did pretty good. She carried herself around with a bit of menace. I thought physically she did this scene pretty well. But the thing is, I completely lost that foreboding form when she spoke, because she didn't really deliver these declarations to the public around her that intimidatingly. She was more like she was bellowing and yelling about she was basically how I would describe it is it's someone who's trying to be intimidating, but they're trying. So instead of just being scary, and instead of just having gravitas, you feel like they're trying to have it. So it hollows it a little bit. And the thing is, this is a weird choice by the writers, but to kind of reaffirm her intimidation, a lady says, "This is the Outer Rim, you have no jurisdiction here," and she immediately ignites her lightsaber and cuts her hand off. Like, slashes her hand off. She's like, "Ah!" And then she continues to start bellowing threats and stuff, but I'm like, I don't really feel threatened, though. Even with an action like that, I sense that she's serious, but it's still not like, I don't feel... Like, the thing is, even the show doesn't treat that as significant, because she does it. There's not even really a strong musical cue. She cuts the hand off, and the camera shows the close-up of the hand, and then she just immediately moves on, and so does the camera. You even stop hearing the woman scream after like 3 seconds. So I'm just like, wait, hold on. If you want me to really feel the intimidation from that moment, you should have... it should have been a bit more dramatic than that. I mean, listen, I'm all for like a quick intimidation and then moving on for sake of time. But it was really ignite, cut, zoom in on the hand, a little bit of screaming, then immediately she's back to bellowing threats. I swear, if you had blinked, you would have missed it. Like if you were watching this in the living room with your family and someone got up to go get drinks, and they came back, like, and even if the kitchen's like right there, they would have missed it. Like, and they wouldn't have even heard it, because again, there was no drama to it. It was just done. If you ask me, they should have had she should have been like, oh, she should have gone up in her face, gone. We don't have jurisdiction here, you say? And she should have pretended to keep walking, and then ignited it. The camera zooms in on that, and then her turn around and slice it off. And I would have even thrown in a little bit of slow-mo of the hand, hitting the ground. And then there'd be a strong, not full, Imperial March, but an Imperial, theme of dun, dun, dun. Really, hit it thick that this moment just happened. Have the zoom in on the woman's face that just lost her hand, screaming. Hell, if you want to go for the full effect, show a zoom in of a sizzle coming from where the limb got cut off. Let me feel the impact. And it would have been a great moment for Moses to really show how menacing her character could be. But they just go through it like they're in a rush. So it's just, they move right on. I'm like, so because they moved right on, so did I. But they keep going, and she's still bellowing intimidations, and then she sees Uncle Owen, which for some reason she just zeroes in on him. Of all people, okay, fine, dramatic attention and all. Suspension of disbelief. She zooms in on him, and she senses he has a family, and then he's a farmer. And then she keeps telling everyone around him, if you do not give me the Jedi's location, I will kill this man, and not just this man, but his entire family. And I gotta give props. The show made Owen look like a fucking badass, because the whole time he's sitting there with his hands on his hip, just looking at her. sternly. And even when she ignites her lightsaber and puts it right against his arm, pretty much, he just still continues to stand there as she's threatening to kill his family unless the Jedi's location is revealed. And a whole time, Obi-Wan is in the corner, hiding by his camel. She's got a lightsaber right here. He saw her cut another woman's hand off, and he's just... Oh dear. Like, this is not Obi-Wan. He's a coward. He's hiding in the corner. The man you left Luke with is about to die. And what do you...
I was going to say, on a quick side note, I would like to point something out funny. Because you bring up, like, how he's acting like a coward. It's either this season or last season of Death Battle. They did Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Kakashi from Naruto.
Kakashi?
I'll give you 3 guesses on how that one turned out.
I would have had Kakashi win, but anime has some, like, wicked not-so shit, and Kakashi's done some wicked not-so shit, so...
Yeah, he's done some wicked, crazy shit. You know who's done worse wicked, crazy shit? Obi-Wan.
I wouldn't agree.
No, they backed this one up pretty damn good. They took, like, they didn't take from the series because the series hadn't, it had been announced but not released yet. This was more from the movies and from the cartoon.
But again, Kakashi fucking destroyed a mountain.
A Jedi weaker than Obi-Wan pulled a goddamn Star Destroyer out of the sky.
The Force Unleashed is not canon.
They included. They didn't include that necessarily as canon. They included that as a comparison of power, as stuff that.
And I would argue Starkiller is actually more powerful than Obi-Wan.
I think they had him at roughly the same, maybe Obi-Wan a little bit more.
And even then, Obi-Wan.
I forgot why.
Obi-Wan is strong in the Force spiritually, but as an actual Force combatant, he's never used, as far as I can recall, past telekinesis.
His mostly comes from like Force shields, stuff like that, and like misdirecting his enemy.
I don't know. I'd have to see their reasoning.
I will send it to you. It was actually one of their better ones. I thought I clicked on the wrong thing. But no. So on a hypothetical, if we're saying that
if we're
saying that Obi-Wan is comparable.
Obi-Wan is a master of Surisu, like the master of Surisu, according to Mace Windu, which is the all-defensive form of Jedi combat, which is sharp, close quarters defense.
Which is a lot of
a tank. Like Obi-Wan was a tank; he could take abuse. In fact, he took the most abuse out of any Jedi during the Clone Wars. I mean, just look at how he faced off against Maul and Savage by himself and survived that abuse. So he had a near unbreakable defense. That's actually the main reason he could defeat Anakin in their duel. Because it was basically an immovable object meets an unstoppable force. Except in this case, he just took advantage of the one time the unstoppable force had a vulnerability, which was height.
Yeah. No, the main argument they have is like his defense, but where his connection to the Force also lets him perceive as well, which also adds to his defense. No matter what Kakashi could have done, he could have predicted. So it's kind of like the simplest way Death Battle works. It's whoever gets that killing blow first. You literally have a character with the ability to have a perception where you can't land a blow, period. You've got to really fucking tire him out. So that was, I think, the majority of their argument. Again, it's actually been a while since I've seen it. I watched it like 2 or 3 times back when it first came out. But if I remember right, the majority of it was because of that right there. There was no way for Kakashi to land a blow because of the way Obi-Wan used the Force. But if he's that much of a... If he's that damaging, lightsaber or no, like, there's no reason for him to fucking cower in a corner. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to watch a death battle, but as far as I understand, Obi-Wan's force
I
abilities,
DM'd it to you.
Yeah, I'm in another time.
God damn it! Watch it now.
We don't have time. We barely made it through episode 1, and there's 3 of these. But
there's supposed to be 5.
Is it only 5? I thought it was supposed to be like 6 or 7 episodes.
It might be 6, but when I looked, I thought it said 5.
If it's 5, then we're definitely fucked because we're the majority. If it's 5, we're the majority in, and the third episode is lost me. But yeah, that exchange between the Inquisitor and Owen happens, and again, Owen is made to look like a badass because this woman's talking about how she's gonna kill his family after killing him, which means Luke, by the way, which is Obi-Wan's whole reason for being there, is to protect his ass. And
that does really seem like out of character.
And Owen's just got his hands on his hips, is just kind of glaring at her, but at no point breaks. He doesn't budge. He doesn't even look afraid. And this sequence, if its goal was to make Owen look like a badass, it succeeded. But it made Obi-Wan, by comparison, look like an absolute coward.
Oh, yeah.
So she's about to do it when they get called off. I can't remember what for. But another Inquisitor calls out to her that they've been called off, and they back off from the situation. And the other Inquisitor confronts her, and then this kind of establishes the theme that amongst the Inquisitors, Reva is not liked. She's the third sister, which they're all like first sister, second brother, shit like that. And
kind of like in the stupid video game that I can't remember the name.
I don't know.
The one with Cal?
Yeah, well, they're the same thing. They're
Is the same thing?
Yeah, they're Inquisitors. Same exact thing.
Again, I have no interest in that video game either.
Yeah.
I don't.
If I had to recommend a Star Wars video game that's come out recently that I would call good, it would be Force Awakens. That would be Fallen Order.
I'll stick with my KOTOR, thank you.
No, KOTOR is good, but it is a different kind of game. This is like Dark Souls meets Star Wars.
I have no okay, since Disney took over and really bastardized what Star Wars meant, I
just want to say, like, this one, Fallen Order is, for me, like the remnant of good Star Wars, because it doesn't have any of the stuff that Disney has ruined it with that I can think of.
And also keep in mind, I'm not really the biggest fan of Dark Souls.
Fair. This is
I got Elden.
Easier, though.
I got Elden Ring.
I don't know. I hope to change your mind one day because
I'm trying to get through that.
I hope to change your mind one day because it feels like the only surviving remnant of what Star Wars is supposed to be in the current paradigm. So I would say check a phone. I don't know if Jedi Survivor, the sequel to it, is going to be as good, but I definitely would stand by Fallen Order. Feels like it's from the prior generation of Lucasfilm and LucasArts, and not the modern one.
Sequels are normally nowhere near as good as the previous game.
Well, would you say KOTOR 2 is not as good as KOTOR
1? This comes into where I have the minority of opinion. A lot of people say that KOTOR 1 was better. I actually prefer.
So doesn't that kind of disprove your point?
No, because I know I'm in the minority.
Okay, fair. I don't know. I'm hoping it's as good. Like, I think at this point, I'll settle for as good. I'm sick and tired of like series being like a fraction as good as their prior iteration. Just be as good. I don't even care if you don't need to be improvement anymore. The paradigm has shifted so hard that sequels and stuff are just shit nowadays. I will if you're just as good, that's a fucking miracle. So please just give me as good. I'll take as good. But
Ernest
anyway,
Warren said Half-Life 2 is better than Half-Life 1.
I would actually agree with that personally.
Well, and again, okay, you're talking about when did Half-Life 2 come out?
I almost said 90s, but I think it's early 2000s.
Yeah, I'll put it in more perspective. I would even go as far as say StarCraft 2 is better than StarCraft 1.
Aesthetically, I would say absolutely.
Except for like the very end.
Unless remaster. We're talking about StarCraft 1 remaster.
Either or StarCraft 1 remaster or original.
Well, the original, the pixels looked really rough. At least always for me. So it didn't
no, I'm talking overall, not just graphically. I'm talking about overall. I would say.
No, but I said aesthetically.
Yeah, I mean aesthetically. Again, in most cases, story-wise, because even StarCraft 1 had some.
No, I would make the argument StarCraft 1 had a better story, especially if we include Brood War.
It had some really stupid MacGuffins in its story. Let's not fucking lie. For instance,
but it felt more of an original approach than StarCraft 2 did, though. StarCraft 2 felt derivative to me.
Well, it was derivative of 1.
No, but I mean like of other stories. Like it's StarCraft 2, especially with how Legacy of the Void wrapped up, which Karnith Corrin spoiled that for me. That's why it took so long for me to finish it, because I was just like, I just don't want to make it to the end. But with
did you ever beat it?
I did on stream.
But was it as bad as you were told?
As bad? No, but
it was stupid. It was stupid.
It was stupid.
But it was not as bad as you thought.
Flaming god.
Yes. Homie, you know what my actual favorite part of that was? Out of all the ridiculous bullshit, you know what my favorite part of that was? You know how they do the epilogue about what happens to everyone after the war?
Yes, which disappointed me. I wish we had actually gotten proper. Like, I did like the montage, the animation they did of like Ire being rebuilt.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was
but
cool.
No. Rainer's epilogue.
He finally got some pussy. It only took him surrendering his soul to the goddess girlfriend he once had.
No. And my favorite thing about that is like he's back in the bar getting drunk where you found him at the very beginning, and here comes God pussy.
He worked hard. He worked hard for that. It finally arrived after so much shit.
But no, like it's stupid, but it's some parts of it are kind of funny stupid.
Yeah.
But you know, like even if you take the ridiculous shit out,
but compare that ending, which was kind of it was literally a happy ending moment. Like, oh, this is the happy ending, happily ever after. But compare that to how StarCraft 1 ended, especially with Brood War, where Kerrigan fucking was surrounded.
The sector.
She took over the sector. Like, it was a dark ending. It was grimdark. Like, you could feel the 40K influence right there. And that's why I liked it better. It felt more menacing, and it felt like it stood on its own more because it wasn't this typical like happily ever after. StarCraft 2 had the happily ever after, which is nice and was a good wrap up, but comparatively, I don't know.
It was not grimdark.
It wasn't grimdark, and it wasn't as poignant because it was over. Like, oh, everyone's happily ever after. Okay, yay.
But that's kind of my point. Like, you know, there are a few rare cases of the sequel being better than the original, or as good as the original. That's rare. StarCraft 2 did give us Alarak and the Tal'Darim. Like, okay, let's talk about...
I know, I guess I'm in the minority in the SC2 community, but I really don't love Alarak that much. I love that he's voiced by Q. Either. Like, that makes it amazing. And I do like his character a little bit, but I wasn't, like, wowed by him. He's not even my favorite character.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
He's not even my favorite character. I like Alaric, but, like, I can think of, like, several characters I would put above him. Even Simp Raynor I like more.
Even Simp.
He is. He's totally...
There's a Carbot animation. I forgot specifically which video. I've got to find it and I'll send it to you. But it's Raynor, like, floating by in the Carbot animation style behind Kerrigan as she's just fucking destroying everything with the big-ass hard eyes.
That's reality though. That's literally that's exactly what happens, pretty much.
and I love that they did that because it's like this is so daring and so bold yet so true.
Oh god. Anyway, at this point, I don't think we're gonna make it through all the episodes. We have so many tangents. So I'll just zoom in on all the moments that made me hate the show, because I've already said the elements that I did like, which was pretty much just down to effects. So to kind of zip through the plot a little bit. So it turns out that you know Organa, Senator Organa,
Organa,
and he has Leia. Well, Leia is the star of the show. The whole plot, it revolves around Obi-Wan abandoning Luke and Owen and their family on Tatooine to go save her because she got kidnapped because she kept sneaking out of the palace to run around in the forest.
Right.
And credit to the show, the way they handle father figures, at least if we're talking about Owen, because as I explained before, Owen was shown to be a badass. He was stalwart. He held his ground. And I was kind of worried that the show was going to fall down the same hole that a lot of shows have, where it makes all the men look really bad to make the female characters look really good.
Honestly, having that strong father figure is
nice, but they've had in both characters, because Owen was shown not to stand up to Reva and not be afraid of her. And again, this is one of those times where, if you ask me, this is actually a perfect representation, despite, again, the acting in the scene I don't think was amazing from Reva. But if we just look at how the situation is handled, Owen is a badass, and I don't think Reva was made to look lesser because he was a badass. She was still shown to be like dangerous and scary, while
it just didn't matter to him.
Yeah, it just didn't matter to him. So both characters were allowed to be badass without it being at the expense of the other.
Yeah.
The only one who looked bad in that scene was Obi-Wan, and I wish they had fixed that, but... but how they display Bail Organa isn't too different. Bail is shown to be a pretty good father figure as well, because he has this really like nice conversation with Leia after she basically insulted her cousin, because basically saying, "Oh, you're just trying to please your father, you noble rich boy," kind of moment. She's 10, by the way, and she says stuff like that. So there's this weird thing in the show where she often acts and talks like she's like 30, and a bit of a prodigy, which I can kind of buy because her mom, Padme, was queen at 14.
Yeah.
So I can kind of actually buy that. I'm not... this is the part of the show where if you just pitch me the idea of Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine to save Leia, I can actually accept that. I know that a lot of hardcore Star Wars fans, that's their biggest problem with the show right now, outside of Reva. And outside of something that just happened in Episode 3.
Yeah.
But outside of that, their biggest problem is just the idea that Obi-Wan would abandon Luke on Tatooine when that was his charge, was to protect Luke. And Leia was to be protected by the Organas and their personal army on Alderaan. But I actually could kind of believe it, because even in the original trilogy, Obi-Wan says, as a Force ghost, as Yoda said... well, actually... No, because it was Yoda who said there was another. Never mind.
There was a sister.
Yeah, there was a sister. But I think back to that moment, regardless of who said it. I think back to that moment, and for me, I can believe that Obi-Wan would go and try and save Leia. Oh, got a bot in chat, which I love. So I can actually accept that happening. But the way they've chosen to go about it, I really didn't like. Like a big thing that they did. Okay, so just one thing at a time. So Bail has this big speech with Leia where he says he has this nice conversation with her where he's like, "Oh, you're strong, you're smart for your age, you know, you're good, but you know you're a bit brash," and stuff like that. And like they're having this back and forth, and she's like, "Well," and they start talking about like being like a senator and stuff like that. And she's like, "I don't want to be a senator." And he laughs and goes, "That's why you'd make a great one." And they have this like wonderful back and forth, and it's a really good father speech. And then Leia just runs out of the palace anyway and doesn't apologize to her cousin, despite, again, what in my opinion was one of the best dad speeches you could have in a situation like that. And it felt it was horrible too, because it was like right after he left the room. I'm like, come on, show. Like, that was a good speech. That was a good line to have with his daughter in Leia. But she just runs out, and then she gets kidnapped by a couple thugs. Which, by the way, this whole chase sequence made no sense, because she was literally surrounded on all three sides, and she runs around them, and the guy who was literally a foot from her could have just swiped his arm around and grabbed her. But he literally just, the actor, the way they choreographed the chase scene was the actor just let her go around him, pretty much. Like he takes a step forward as if to grab her, but then she swerves and runs. But it wasn't even in a way like she's 10. She's got little legs. Like in real life, this would not be a chase. This would have been grabbed you by the scruff, picked you up, and threw you in a bag. This would have been done. And you can't even make like she used force powers or anything like that, because she just ran normally. But all three of them let her run away.
I love
what
how
the fuck?
when you said she's got little legs. It's like I was gonna say, yeah, that's why you break them.
Well, that's dark, but yes, technically.
I mean, it's not wrong.
But well, biologically speaking, if you have smaller legs, it means you have smaller stride, which means it's harder for you to get a further distance ahead from someone who's a full-grown adult. Like a full-grown adult stride is the equivalent of 8 steps for a little kid.
And to back up my point, if you have broken legs, you can't run away at all.
Yeah, in the whole scene, like, she runs away, and, like, 3 palace guards come out and just go search for her, because the Organas send them out. And, you know, the bounty hunter type dudes are chasing her through the forest. And, again, the way it's directed, like, these guys run into tree branches and stuff intentionally. Like, it's not like she, like, sets traps or anything. She's running, and, like, they stop, they slow down, they're like, oh, I'm stuck. It's like, you could have walked around that. What? Like, this was so horribly directed. And like she finally gets all the way to like a walking path, and that's where one of the Organa soldiers are, and she's like, "Help!" The guy sees her, runs over to her, but then gets blasted in I think it was in the head or in the chest by one of the bounty hunters. She screams, and the guy I think he literally put a bag over her head. And boom, she's kidnapped. And the next thing we know, the Organas are calling Obi-Wan for help. And I'm like, you have a personal army. You're a senator in the Imperial Senate.
He is in a completely different sector.
Why in the hell are you calling someone who's in the Outer Rim for help, for one? For two, who's someone who left Leia in your hands to protect, with the understanding that he was protecting the other one. But they call him for help. And he even says, oh, no, I must protect Luke. I can't go. You'll have to find somebody else. And he hangs up on them. And then Organa literally shows up on Tatooine. What looks like a day later. I'm like, what? But he shows up in Obi-Wan's fucking cave. And, well, I kind of skipped over it, but kind of because the show really didn't care. But the same Jedi that escaped the Inquisitors initially, in between then and Organa showing up the next day, Obi-Wan's out in the desert at night for some reason, just, I guess, going on a drive with his camel thing. And the Jedi runs into him and says, "You're Obi-Wan." And he's asking for help, he's begging for help. And this is where the cowardice of Obi-Wan is even more enhanced. Because Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan keeps saying, "I'm not Obi-Wan, my name is Ben, you've got the wrong person." And the guy's like, "I know what you look like, I remember, I was fucking there. Please help me." And Ben literally tells this man, and I'm not exaggerating, he says, "Abandon your lightsaber, bury it in the desert, and go back to the village." Translation: throw your lightsaber in the desert, like me, and go back to die, because that's where the Inquisitors are, is in the town. And then he just leaves the guy. And the next day in town, the dude, the Jedi, is literally hung. He's hanging in an archway, and there's a crowd forming looking at his body. Now, granted, I did the motion with the neck, but he's hung out by his arms. But the point is he got killed, and his body is just that's pretty morbid, but his body is just hanging. And I'm like, well, he did what you said, Obi. He threw his lightsaber in the desert and went to go die.
I mean,
oh
now
my God.
to be fair, you're kind of upselling this a little bit. Sometimes some people just need to hang out.
Actually, hold on. I really don't think you're getting the right visual here. I can actually pull up the episode.
You don't need to. I was just making a joke.
No, I do need to though, because I don't.
No, you fucking.
No, not just for you. Not
damn
just
it.
for you. Because there's gonna be some people who will watch this stream to be like, "Well, you're fucking like you're exaggerating." Blah blah blah. No, I need to show this because so many people. Again, there's so many other content creators who cover the show and have shit on it, but they've shit on different things than me and things that I found incredibly egregious. They're like they just focus on all these other, in my opinion, sometimes pettier shit to complain about. Then some of the really dark crap that happens in this show.
Maybe the dark stuff is there to kind of counterbalance the stupid stuff.
Let me find the moment where the guy's hung.
Although I only had, I'm probably only going to make it like another 30 minutes.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
I have to take the pregnant wife out to go eat.
I'm sure she would appreciate the food.
Apparently, on a normal day, when you feed a spouse, they are happy. When they are pregnant, that is all that keeps you between life and death. Like right now, I just got to look for making that comment. Save me. I need an adult.
Don't kill him. I need him.
Fucking thanks. He said, "Don't kill him. I need him." She shrugged her shoulders.
I mean, it's true. I'm not lying.
What, Taylor?
Okay, I found it. Hold on. Let me screen share. Okay, so I'll pull it up on stream. Hold on. Alright, so brace yourselves. This is actually in the Obi-Wan series. Oh my god, this is so dark. Alright, so I got it muted for obvious reasons. Copyright bot, fuck you. Alright, so the guy's body is literally fucking hanging here. Oh my god. Now, yeah, granted, he's not hung by the fucking neck. But it doesn't really matter much.
It froze me again.
Yes,
oh,
it did.
There we go.
Yeah, it does.
It fixed it.
I'll move you over. Yeah, so the guy's body is currently being hung from this archway. So this is a man, again, I must repeat this, went to Obi-Wan for help. Obi-Wan refused to admit it was him, told him to abandon his lightsaber, his only defense, which Obi-Wan himself was taught by Qui-Gon that a Jedi's life was their saber. So in two ways, he told this man to commit suicide. He said to get rid of his only weapon, and get rid of his only weapon, bury it in the desert, and also told him to go back to the town in which was full of Inquisitors who were trying to kill him.
I have a sneeze.
Obi-Wan, everybody!
Yeah.
Anyway, to kind of zip through because we don't have much more time. Anyway, so after that happens, Bail shows up, begs Obi-Wan for help again, and literally says this line. Now, a lot of people have made a bigger deal out of the line. I understand what it really meant, but it's what a lot of people have interpreted the writers to have meant through it. But Bail says that as Obi-Wan is making excuses and saying like, "No, I won't go save Leia. No, I can't do that. I can't leave Luke." Or Bail turns to him and goes, "This isn't about the boy," because he was saying it's because he had to stay and save Luke, protect Luke.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people made a big deal because a big deal about that line. Now, again, in terms of the writing of the show, I do think the writers intended that to be a kind of, Luke isn't the only one. Like, Leia is also amazing. Like, he's not, Luke isn't that special. That it's just him. I know that's what the writers were kind of intentioning with this line, but in terms of the moment and what the characterization, I think it's obvious that Bail meant that The only that Obi-Wan was using Luke as a crutch to not have to leave, and to not risk his life, and to which again only enhances the cowardice problem with Obi-Wan in this series. But that's what Bail meant. Well, of course, I agree though that the writers of the show kind of intended it to be a not so subtle, like, hey, see, Luke is Luke is not that important, folks. Leia is also important, which we all know. But it was the organ. I wouldn't have a problem with this concept of Obi-Wan leaving to protect Leia. That's also Anakin's daughter. But the way they've done it is so horrible. They make him look like such a coward. They don't show the Organas putting any effort into protecting Leia, and they even tell Obi-Wan, we know where they are. Okay, you know where Leia is. And despite being a senator on Alderaan, a wealthy family, you don't bother to send bounty hunters. You don't bother to send your own personal forces. You don't even, and you're a senator in the Imperial Court, so you don't even petition for the Empire to send stormtroopers. Which, yes, the Empire are a bunch of douchebags, and they're pretty bad, but they want the senators hold still weight, even in Imperial times, early on anyway. So they still should have had some kind of obligation to at least try. But it's revealed that these guys who kidnapped Leia are doing it at the behest of Reva. But it's also shown that she did it independently from the Inquisitors. Because she wanted to find Obi-Wan because she wanted to accrue favor with Darth Vader. Which, to skip a lot of events, Bail successfully convinces Obi-Wan goes to a planet that's I can't believe it's not Coruscant, is how I kept describing it, because it's Coruscant, but not. It's a different planet, even though it's a city planet. It looks just like Coruscant, and yeah, so Coruscant, but I can't believe it's not Coruscant. He gets there, he's offered drugs, he takes them, not death sticks, sadly. It was such a wasted opportunity. Like, literally, a lady comes up and says, hey, you want to buy some stuff? And I'm like, oh, please say the line. Please say the line. It's coming. It's coming, bro. It's coming. And she doesn't say it. She's like, I got this stuff, and this stuff. No death sticks! How dare you! I was so insulted. But she just straight up gives him drugs for free. After saying he's there to look for his daughter. Don't ask me. That was fucking weird. Then he finds out that there's this Jedi who, he gets brought to. It was a fake Jedi, someone using magnets and stuff to mimic force powers. But essentially, that person he convinced to lead him to the location where Leia would be. He gets there. And again, I'm skipping over a lot because a lot of it was really inconsequential. Like, most of episode 2 felt like a drag because it was just him moseying around the planet trying to find her, and then he did. But he seriously finds the location. The guys are holding Leia. And this is a bit of an interesting situation. So, Obi-Wan brought both his lightsaber and Anakin's with him. But despite getting confronted by bodyguards, he doesn't fight them with a lightsaber. He fights them hand to hand. But he basically gets his ass he gets his ass kicked, but he doesn't lose. He hits the Mac pretty fucking hard. He does win the physical fight, but it was a bit of a touch and go. And I really didn't feel that old Sarisu master there, because he clearly felt the abuse.
Yeah.
He didn't when I think Obi-Wan, I think of somebody who's a walking tank. Someone who can take the most amount of abuse possible. But yet he really seemed affected by these fights. And again, at no point does he draw his lightsabers. Don't know why. He successfully breaks in. The 3 bounty hunters that initially captured Leia pin him against the wall, and he's like, as they're like, "Oh, you're screwed, man!" Like, they're basically giving him that old intimidation thing. And he somehow he like bends down as in like pain, and then he grabs the drugs that he was given, drops them like a smoke bomb. They fill up the room, and he breaks out and seals the 3 guys in the room, and then goes to the real room where Leia's being held, breaks her out, And again, another missed opportunity for him to open up the door and for her to go, You're a little whatever. They could have put in a joking line in there. You're a little old to be a bounty hunter or something like that. That would have been funny. As a reference to the original line Leia had when she was saved by Luke and Han. Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? Again, missed opportunity. Again, so many missed opportunities of references here. No Death Stick reference when he literally had the perfect setup. No reference to that moment from the original trilogy. Because this show isn't made by fans. Let's be honest. It's not made by anybody who knows this shit. And they successfully break out. And this is where the show really fucks up characterizing Leia. Because at times she's like a super genius. And then at other times she acts like a 10-year-old. Because while they're hiding out in the streets, she sees Obi-Wan's lightsaber. She's like, you're a Jedi. But then she's like, well, lift me up, make me fly. This is the same kid that the previous episode did this full psych eval on her cousin, breaking down how he just wants to please his father, and he's like all this other mumbo jumbo. Now she's like, make me fly. Which are you? Are you a 10-year-old prodigy that's a super genius, or are you a fucking 10-year-old?
So I've been watching this Dungeons and Dragons game on YouTube, and I think there's a phrase in there that will clearly define what has happened here. I thought you were an idiot. You're an idiot savant.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so then there's this whole thing where she thinks he's one of the kidnappers because he won't do any of the Jedi stuff, and she runs away from him. So, and then the whole planet gets alerted by a bounty that he's there. And he defends himself with blasters. They get on a roof at some point, and Leia's still running away from him. He's blasting, but missing the bounty hunter shooting at him. And she jumps off the roof to commit suicide. Because I have no other explanation for what happened in this scene. She's literally, at the edge of the roof. The gap between this roof and the next is, 30 feet. And it's like a straight drop from there. And the entire time, Obi-Wan's like, no, Leia, don't do it! Pew, pew, pew. Don't do it, Leia! No! Do. You must run to safety, though. Run to safety. Okay. And he's just blasting back and forth. Finally, she gets on the ledge and just fucking commits suicide. She fucking jumped. What was the goal? I want to ask the writers and Deborah Chow what the plan was here. Because she didn't leap like she was reaching for the other side, which again was 30 feet. She just jumped. There was no attempt to reach something. She just jumped and then grabbed a hold of a pole while she's hanging there. And all of a sudden, the bounty hunters that were shooting at Obi-Wan disappeared and stopped shooting at him. Because he runs to the ledge and goes, Leia! And he reaches out to her. And she's like, help me! And there's no blaster fire. He didn't kill them. It didn't show him blast them. They're just gone. For the convenience of the scene, they just disappeared. Like magic. And he's reaching out to her and she falls. And he's like, no! And he reaches out. And he's got this constipated look. Like he's struggling with all his might. And just, literally, a foot before she hits the ground, he stops her with the Force. But he literally looked like it would took absolutely 100% of his being to do. The most constipated looking man on Earth. And even then he's like, ugh, and he lets go and she falls that 1 foot. And
she falls that 1 foot. In addition, his bowels fall out of his.
I would have said his Jedi diaper needed to be changed. I'm telling you that right now. So he gets all the way down there with no problem. Gets down there, reunites with her. The fake Jedi who pointed him in the right direction saves him from one of the bounty hunters and escorts him off planet. And then a whole sequence of events that was just the most retarded thing ever. Essentially, this guy that got them off planet was faking, pretending to be a Jedi, and when Reva showed up, she ran into him, and the guy says, so you found me at last, jokingly, but he's like, you found me at last, I, the Jedi, and he says his name, and she's like, you're not a Jedi. Now, what should have happened is she should have sliced his head off or just forced him out of the way like the buffoon he was. But she literally, like, holds for a minute and humors him. And then when she pins him to the wall, she, like, reads his mind and keeps going. I'm like, you should have killed him. Like, this guy was getting in your way. Are you evil or not? You cut someone's hand off with no hesitation and moved on from that like it was nothing. But this douchebag who literally was trying to stop you and pretending to be a Jedi, you just move on? Okay.
So, I might be able to answer this. Not well at all, but I might be able to answer that. I am taking this from another YouTube channel I've started watching where they do like D&D alignment, different characters in like movies or video games and shit like that.
You're watching a lot of these,
Huh?
Are you watching a lot of these now?
I'm just this one channel. I was putting it up for white noise, but there are a couple that really pull my attention. For example, Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Witcher one was pretty good too. But no, so you could attribute maybe she's supposed to be written as kind of like lawful evil. She obeys a set of rules and she is evil, but she's not just out randomly killing. Like, for instance, the Jedi that they killed on Tatooine, they just killed him and not him and...
Well, the show kind of shows that she's being held back by the other Inquisitors from just killing everybody. Because she was about to kill Owen, but another Inquisitor stopped her.
Well, no, okay, so that could still be construed as an act of lawful evil, because she knows there's a Jedi there. Or she very much so suspects it, and she's willing to do anything towards evil means to kill that Jedi. Now, again, this goes back to the lawful sense, not that she's lawful as in obeying the law, but she does abide by that code.
I'd say that'd be fair. Especially with the rule-breaking part, because spoilers. Basically the last thing that happened at the end of the episode, worth mentioning, is the Grand Inquisitor, who, by the way, is the main villain or one of the main villains in the Rebels show, the cartoon, which happens, I believe, after the events of this one.
Okay.
She kills him. She stabs him through the gut. And the thing is, a lot of people after episode 2 were like, "Oh no, like his species are known to have 2 stomachs, so he's totally alive." Because in canon, in Disney's canon, Rebels is canon, meaning that he has to be alive because he's the same character.
Yeah.
No, in episode 3, he's confirmed to be dead. Because all the other Inquisitors are vying for his seat. They're all like, I wanna be the new Grand Inquisitor. Wait, so he's not in the back
unless there's some insane MacGuffin, and he just shows up like, "You thought you killed me. Now I will teach you."
Well, they're gonna have to, even if this was a fuck up and they just didn't check their facts, they're fucked. Because at this point they have to do that, or they have to say Rebels is non-canon, or this series is non-canon. Because he's alive in both.
Either way is a win.
he's alive in Rebels, and he's not in this one because he's pretty much said he was dead. So I don't. At this point, if there's a season 2 to Kenobi, they have to be like, "Oh, never mind, bitches. I was in the back to tank the whole time."
But yeah. So okay, now that would definitely be chaotic evil. Or actually, no, killing. Now, why did she kill him?
Well, he was trying to, she cornered Obi-Wan at the space, like a space cargo area,
okay,
spaceport, and she was like, "Kenobi, come out!" And he showed up and went, "Third sister, you don't know what you're doing. I'll do it. Let me show you how it's done." And when he tried to take over, she stabbed him. And because while she did that, Obi-Wan escaped.
I would call that chaotic neutral, or the well-known and improved D&D alignment, chaotic stupid.
Yes, she's very chaotic. And get this is what made me start to fall off the wagon for the show, because Kenobi gets on the ship with Leia, and it closes, and she like stops short of the ship taking off, even though Force users are known to at least try and stop vehicles from taking off or throw a lightsaber at it. I don't know. She just lets it go. And
she can fucking stop them, but okay.
And she does declare, like, like a Saturday morning villain, like I'll get you next time. She yells out to the ship and out to Kenobi. She's like, well, right before that, she told Obi-Wan that Darth Vader is Anakin. Right before that, which this is supposed to be the reveal to Obi-Wan that Anakin is still alive, even though, granted, it's Legends now, but in the original canon, Obi-Wan found out Darth Vader was alive the moment Darth Vader started hunting Jedi. Like, he knew he knew Vader was Anakin's Sith name, and he heard about Vader hunting Jedi pretty much immediately after the Empire took over. So he's known that Anakin has been alive. This is not new information for him. There shouldn't be. But they treat it like it's been 10 years since the Purge. And only now he's finding, because they make it a big deal. It's clear that this is the first time this Obi-Wan has heard this information.
Right.
So he's like, "Oh my god, he's alive." And as they're taking off, she's like, "Anakin Skywalker will find you." And like, hold up. One of the most important pieces of lore about Darth Vader is how much he fucking hates people knowing who he was. Like, he killed an entire battalion of stormtroopers because a Jedi he cornered fucking said, "You're Anakin." And he killed that Jedi and killed all of them because they heard. This is a man who does not allow anyone to know who he is. And they're like, "Nah, it'll be fine." Okay. The only people who know are Palpatine himself, Thrawn, who just figured it out but never said it to him because he knew what would happen. And that's about it. There's like a couple other exceptions, but that's pretty much it, what I just said. He doesn't let anybody live.
Yeah.
That finds out who he is. And this is an exception. And the thing is, a lot of people were like theorizing off of the fact that she knows that she has some kind of deep-seated connection with Vader. Like maybe they're romantic. Maybe she's like the new Padme to him. And all of which I would have hated if it was the case. It was like, oh, okay. Turns out, in episode 3, it's clear he don't care about her. Like, he barely knows who she is. Barely knows who she is. Because she reports to him that she's, like, tracked him down and shit. And he's like, "Your third sister. I am aware of your So they're clearly not close. So how in the fuck does she know Darth Vader is Anakin? This is a big canon-breaking moment. And they're just like, eh. Oh, that reminds me, Karth Corn. There actually was a 501st clone cameo in this episode. Kind of served no purpose, to be honest, but worth mentioning, I guess. It didn't go anywhere. The clone didn't do anything. It was a wasted moment. It was nice to see the original actor who played Boba Fett play a clone, live action for once, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything.
You mean Boba or Jango Fett?
Yes.
That's two different actors.
I think I always mix them up. Wasn't Boba the...
Boba's the son, Jango's the father.
Okay, yeah, I mixed them up. Jango. It was nice to see him play a clone for once. But it was really just like a novelty moment. And again, if you're going to have a novelty moment like that with a 501st Trooper, which Obi-Wan gave him money, which I kind of thought was a cool thing, because it showed that Obi-Wan did... Because the 501st were the ones that that did the purge at the Jedi Temple. They were... The 501st were the ones that killed pretty much most Jedi. So this 501st clone, who's just like, money for a veteran, for a warm meal, I kind of like that moment because not only like in terms of like real world stuff, it kind of highlighted like how in real life veterans are kind of thrown aside and are left out in the streets, which it's a weird way to phrase it, but I like how that's kind of portrayed in the show because that's real. That's a big problem. That veterans are kind of tossed aside and allowed to just beg out in the streets for money and are not supported by by the government that they helped maintain or put in place. So I like it for that reason, but I also I thought it was a neat moment to see Obi-Wan not hold any animosity towards them because he knew it was a chip in their heads that caused them to do that, and these are troops that fought alongside them, and if they had had control of themselves, would never have betrayed the Jedi, which is the one main thing I really loved from the Clone Wars cartoon, because not only did it show that there was this deep-seated familial-like connection between Jedis and their troopers that they served alongside.
Yeah.
But also with that, it also, because that makes sense. You serve alongside someone during war, you would formulate a connection with them.
Absolutely.
So I liked how that added that in the Clone Wars cartoon, and though a lot of people would say it's kind of a retcon to add a chip in their heads for Order 66, for me that makes more sense. Because I always had a hard time believing the troopers that had served alongside the Jedi during the Clone Wars just because you received an order of Order 66, you just immediately turn and kill them. Like, no, I can't believe that'd be that easy with someone you served alongside. So I never liked that. So anyway, I know you're almost out of time, so I'll just wrap it up real quick with saying, third episode, Darth Vader arrives on another planet where Obi-Wan and Leia are, and they're trying to escape from. And Darth Vader and Obi-Wan confronts against Darth Vader in the episode because he's trying to lead him away from Leia for obvious reasons. And it's the first time Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber in the show. And do you know what he does when Darth Vader's like 7 feet from him and it's the first time they're face to face, alone together? He does this cartoonish and he just runs. Like, I was like, okay, itchy and scratchy cartoon time. Because Darth Vader's got this serious look on his face. Obi-Wan has the saber in his hand. And just runs. It just runs to the side. I'm like, exit stage left?
Pretty much.
He just fucking bailed. And then a moment later, literally like what felt like a blink of the eye, they're face to face again. And they start exchanging words. And I'm like, why did you even do that? Like, why was this like cartoon moment where you just ran away? If you're just gonna be right back to face and then talk all badass. I was like, what was the whole point? If I were in the editing room, I would have cut that out. It made no sense. It didn't achieve anything. It didn't affect anything. It just was a waste of like a minute. Okay, but now they're facing off and both have the sabers ignited. And Vader starts wailing on him. And Obi-Wan, a master of Surisu, the all-defensive form, the master, by the way, according to Mace Windu, is like, he's barely blocking every hit. Vader looks like he's like should be yawning at this point. Even in that James Earl Jones voice, he's like, the years have made you weak, Obi-Wan. I'm like, okay. And again, I don't know if Hayden was actually the actor underneath the suit. I think he is. But I don't even know. Like, he's voiced by James Earl Jones, like always. And he's completely covered with a suit, so I have no clue. I mean, I really hope they show his face at some point with his voice, because if you're gonna cast Hayden as Darth Vader again, can't you have some level of him being Darth Vader? Like, they could switch someone out into the suit, and I wouldn't know. For all I know, Hayden was brought in for promotion. That was it. So I do really hope that they actually do something with him underneath that suit to justify him being in the suit. I don't know, it was... the whole duel between the two of them was pathetic. Obi-Wan was completely overpowered. He barely blocked every shot, and he kept running away. And he looked genuine. Like there wasn't even any good verbal exchange. Remember when Obi-Wan and Darth Vader reunited in the original trilogy?
Yeah.
Hey, you're nothing more than evil, Darth. And they would have those exchanges, and they would have verbal They had as many verbal exchanges as they did blows.
Yeah.
Not here. Like, there's none of that. None of it. And this is Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan. He could have had so many good witty one-liners. Imagine this moment if they hadn't arbitrarily turned Obi-Wan into a weak, pathetic man. To a coward that he is now. Yeah, I can accept he's a bit rusty. Totally. But this moment could have been... is such a waste. It was pathetic. The first time Obi-Wan and Vader should meet up, it shouldn't be this one-sided affair. And also, there's this moment where Darth Vader picks up Obi-Wan with one hand, his whole body, and he's like crushing him. Obi-Wan drops his saber. Darth Vader with another hand like causes like a button, because they're in like a mining area, causes like this silo of ore to fly in front of him, and he ignites it with his lightsaber, turning it on fire. And guess what he does? He drops Obi-Wan down and drags Obi-Wan by his arm through the fire, burning him. Saying, "Your suffering is only just begun, Obi-Wan." Do you remember Obi-Wan having a giant burn on one side?
Do I remember Obi-Wan having a giant burn?
Yeah, because Darth Vader literally dragged him through, which again, when you think about the Mustafar thing, was kind of fitting. But again, this would have been more fitting if it felt more like an actual exchange between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. I felt like this was between Darth Vader and just some throwaway Jedi. None of this felt like this was Obi-Wan v. Vader. Because he's just, it's so one-sided. He's dragging him through fire, burning a whole half of his body. Obi-Wan's just screaming for mercy, and he gets his life saved by some random chick with a blaster. And literally, Darth Vader goes from dragging him through fire, pushing him out of the fire, because he wants to continue making him suffer. She reignites the same crystals, and all of a sudden Darth Vader's like, "Oh, I'm blocked off from getting from Obi-Wan." I didn't feel like he was blocked off when he ignited it himself. It's the same exact shit. I felt like he could walk right through it. But through the flames, Obi-Wan is saved by a droid, and Darth Vader just watching, like, "Yep, he's living. Good luck. Bye-bye. Have a nice life." But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't, like, force to try and grab the droid and crush it. He doesn't force push the ground for all that flaming crystal to get thrown aside so he can make a path to get through. None of the stuff that Vader would do to close the gap is done here. It just let him go, pretty much. I don't know, like, this third episode, especially with that stuff, I'm done. Like, I cannot keep watching this show. Episode 3 was enough for me. I'm sickened. I'm sickened. And I know you gotta go, man, so I can wrap up if you need to head out right now.
No, apparently someone broke glass.
Ah. Is everyone okay?
No one's cut yet.
Okay. Hope to avoid that. Styled on Darth Maul in the Clone Wars cartoon? Yes, yeah, that happens after this, and only a couple years, because Rebels takes place 5 years before the events of the original trilogy, 5 or 4 years. I don't know. This whole series is fucking disastrous, man. Absolutely disastrous. It turned Obi-Wan into a coward, a weakling. I don't know. I don't know what between the events of this show and teaching and him becoming old Ben proper. I don't know what's going to happen, but he's completely cut off from the Force. You ask me, he'd be, in 7 years, he'd be lucky to regain the power and the skill and who he was before. Not become more powerful, because the thing is, Obi-Wan in Rebels killed Maul in 2 hits. He parried and sliced him in half. Actually, no, I think it was 3 because it was parry, parry, slash.
Yeah.
So in 3 blows, he killed Darth Maul.
Again.
Well, technically, the first time he killed him. When you think about it, he did X cross he did an X cross or a plus because he cut Maul from horizontally, and when that didn't work in that occasion, he cut him vertically. See if that worked, and it did. X marks the spot.
I mean, yeah.
There we go. I don't know, like the Obi-Wan betrayed there versus this one. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, this show is not canon to me. Show is not canon to me. Like, I can accept the premise of Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine to save Leia, but return as fast as possible. I can accept that, unlike a lot of other people apparently. But the way they've done it is like the worst version of this idea. The absolute worst take and worst method to approach this idea, and it's horrid. I could not believe watching that episode that I was watching Star Wars. Like, I don't know how Ewan or Hayden. I don't know.
Get behind it.
They're actors, I guess. At the end of the day, they were offered a lot of money, big payout, and to be fair, like, to them, these are just roles they played that they're being asked to come back to, and obviously for promotion, they have to talk like they give a damn about these roles they played, 10 years ago or so?
Yeah.
So, to be fair to them, that's probably the case, is they never actually really cared about these roles. Hayden probably hated his time as Anakin because of all the drama and hate that he got for the role, which, by the way, I've grown up on the prequels. I love them. As much as I can admit their flaws, but they're nowhere near bad. And in my opinion, they did improve upon the original trilogy in a lot of ways. Like the Duel of the Fates is, in my opinion, is a vast improvement on any of the previous tracks from the original trilogy, and I stand by that, including the opening theme. And I absolutely think that the lightsaber combat and how it got reimagined ignited so much imagination in children who watched the prequels, and it was so much more fun, energetic, and it did feel like something that a normal person couldn't do without the aid of the Force. It was something magnificent. So in many ways it was an evolution on the original trilogy. It was unfortunately in certain ways it was a degradation, like acting, which again I blame the direction for, and a lot of over-the-top CGI, and the plots of 1 and 2 were really kind of sour, which they could have handled better. And in my opinion, they took the best elements of the prequels and actually added good writing in the Clone Wars cartoon. So if you ask me, the ultimate version of the prequels is the Clone Wars cartoon series. I don't know. Like, I will honestly say I was depressed watching this Obi-Wan series. It was not a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I was not happy. Actually, just reciting it made me feel worse.
Damn.
Yeah, because now that I've laid it all out, I'm like, oh my god, when I really think about it, it was pretty fucking bad.
Oh no, I was talking about the fucking bot.
Yeah, different versions of the account. Like, there's like millions of them on YouTube.
Oh no, it's just like... Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... That makes 6. You're popular today.
Anti-fanfiction here? Yeah, I guess. This is anti-fanfiction.
Yeah, I can go with that too.
Yeah, it was disastrous. Bro, Obi-Wan needs more work. It needs to be reset, honestly. If I were in charge of Disney, LucasArts and Lucasfilm, I would be like, fucking pull the plug. Pull the plug. This show is not... No, this isn't it. This ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. I don't know. I'm definitely canceling my Disney Plus subscription. I'm not happy with this. I don't know.
I have a dark joke that will make you happy.
Shoot.
Well, it's
What was that? You cut out.
it's a picture, so you have to give me a fucking second.
Okay. Hold on. Another yeah, content creator. Another content creator is asking if they can join in.
Okay.
Let me. I don't think they ever joined my server. Let me send them a link.
Did you get the screenshot?
1 second.
Okay. You haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. All right, let me see it. When the deaf. Okay.
It's funny.
That's dark.
It is, but it's funny.
All right. Sekrios, what's up?
Hey, hello, what's up?
Currently we're on the podcast ranting about the Obi-Wan series.
Yep. I had no idea you had a second Discord. That's pretty crazy.
No, this is the first one. You're on the second.
Ah, okay. No, that's fair. So, the Obi-Wan... double checking, does my mic sound okay?
Yeah, you sound pretty good. I'll turn you up a little bit just in case you're not being read super loud. But otherwise, you're pretty good.
So, okay, this is my stance on the Obi-Wan show, okay? Part of me feels like it's early days, but there has been a handful of decisions that have got me a bit iffy about the whole thing. Like, sometimes there's scenes that, like, don't actually, like, make sense or anything. The way I see it, there is two possibilities what's going on with the Inquisitor. Either they totally forgot and they've, like, you know, writ themselves into a corner or something, or there's going to be some, like, really bizarre... Yeah. When she stabbed the Grand Inquisitor.
Okay.
Yeah. I think what they might have been trying to do is they're trying to do this pro the message girl power kind of deal, where like, oh my god, she overthrew her mansplaining boss, but like they seem to have forgotten that this guy was a really big deal on another show.
Oh,
and
totally.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if they're doing this specifically to spite people, or if it's like some sort of innocent mistake or a lead up to a really like big reveal. Like, have you seen Goodfellas?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you know how like they think everything's on the up and up. Oh, grand promotion day, this and that. And then, you know, there's an empty basement and then the person dies, whatever. I feel like if they did that with her character, like, oh, hey, I killed the Grand Inquisitor and everything sort of worked out. And then, oh, whoopsie, he's still alive and he just, like, kills her for revenge or something. I don't know. Like, that would at least make sense. Otherwise, they've totally, like, bungled it, you know?
And that's what I kind of said earlier.
I think they totally bungled it, personally.
And I think, Sekrios, you're half right. I think it's less about throwing over her mansplaining boss and more about throwing over the mansplaining canon. Because let's be honest, Disney with the new Star Wars gives no shits about canon. What is or isn't.
No.
I think what's disheartening as well, and I don't know if like these people are like in cahoots when it comes to when they like talk to each other about this kind of stuff, but I noticed that you brought up about the katas that like each Jedi like to use and stuff for their like fighting style.
Yeah.
Like Obi-Wan, he's like overly
The different lightsabing forms: Sarisu, Ataru, Shicho, and there's I think 6 others.
7. There's 7 total.
7 total. Hold on, let me pull them up. Yeah, I know.
I don't remember what they are, but
a huge part of the existing lore. And he asked me. I do think at least. No, I think all lightsaber forms are still canon, based on the fact that they say the Clone Wars cartoon is still canon. And though in the Clone Wars cartoon they never explicitly say lightsaber forms, nor do they reference them. What makes them, what I think makes them so canon is how in that cartoon, they display the different Jedi using the different forms. They show Mace Windu using his form, which is a pretty unique one, taking advantage of the emotions of his combatants. They show Obi-Wan using quick, tight defensive forms like Sarisu. Show Yoda using really, really fast, rapid, acrobatic moves like Ataru.
In my honest opinion, I think Yoda was at the peak of his form, where he got out his walking stick and he started beating the shit out of R2. Like, that was truly the Duel of the Fates right there, dude.
Yes, that was masterful.
And by the way, you said Mace Windu has his own unique form. It's called the Say What Again, motherfucker.
Yeah, it nearly killed Palpatine. It was that powerful.
Truly. All right, so
he's standing over Palpatine with a Hawaiian burger and a big ass afro. Say what again, motherfucker?
No, I'm too weak. Nah, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I don't know if this is an irrelevant point, but I do have a slight pet theory. I think the writing staff, or some members of the writing staff, I think they might have a hidden, subtle disdain towards the core fan base when it comes to the Carters, only because in their eyes they think it's too pedantic, while to fans it's fundamentally important to the aesthetic of how the characters are portrayed with their power levels. I noticed, are you familiar with a guy called Movie Bob?
I'm not familiar, no.
I think I've heard of him, but I haven't watched any of his stuff.
Okay, all right. Long story short, Movie Bob is a very left-leaning consumer, essayist, and essayist, he said stuff like, "Oh, well, yeah, by the way, as someone quote unquote inside the Hollywood industry, I don't believe they even he's saying,
fuck those pretentious people."
I know he is literally that pretentious person. He literally gone up and he straight up said that he thinks the Jedi Carters are stupid and no one in the writing staff actually cares. That's literally what he said. And looking at this,
clearly not a Star Wars fan then.
Yeah, that's the weird part. He'll pretend he is a fan, but
they
in a very
they always do. They're like, "Oh, I'm a fan, but let me talk about how I hate everything about this."
So now there are two things to that, real. So let's take 40K for instance. I will bitch about 40K all day, but I love 40K. I just hate what it's fucking becoming.
Well, that's different. You're bitching about why it's changed from what we knew. This is someone who's bitching about what has always been.
No, there are some things that have always been
for his sensibilities.
Well, there are some things that have always been in 40K specifically that I hate. Like, for instance, I love making this observation. I would say joke. It's not a joke. But making this observation, I have 2 favorite Traitor Legions, and one of them is under my least favorite Chaos God. That's the Thousand Suns. I hate Zinch as a concept.
I find interesting that.
Well, Zinch is literally the ultimate writer's tool. Even if you lose, you still win because it's all part of a plan inside of a plan inside of a plan. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card.
It's a Russian doll.
And I fucking hate that. I really do. I hate that about Zinch because that's all Zinch is, really. And that's all Zinch has ever fucking been. This little prankster that can do whatever the fuck he wants. Whatever happens is part of his plan. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. My other favorite Traitor Legion is the Death Guard under my actual favorite Chaos God, Nurgle. Because Nurgle is kind of like the force of nature. He is what controls life and death.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that because if you look at it from a less nuanced point of view, Nurgle is not part of chaos. Nurgle is just nature.
Yeah.
But that aside,
I mean, all the Chaos Gods have their flip side of their coin.
Except for Zinch.
No, he does. Because his negative side is the same as his positive side. Like with all the other Chaos Gods. Like Nurgle, his negative side is that he's disease, death, decay, but he's the same name. But with death and decay comes life, because
life and rebirth.
Life and rebirth. With Zinch, he represents the changing of ways, fate changing. So where Nurgle represents certainty, he represents the possibility of change. Because rather than your fate being tied to certain, so if you're in a bad situation, like you're enslaved or you're underneath an oppressive rule, Zinch represents the ability for that to change, for you to change the fate that you've been assigned, to change your circumstances. So
I will
Zinch
offer
allows for you to have a chance at a different future.
I will offer one argument against this. Nuceria.
I don't think that counteracts it.
That wasn't Zinch.
I don't think it can. Well, yeah, but I don't think that counteracts it.
That was Korn through and through. Well, I don't know, because the douche bearers were. I love pre-heresy word bearers. I hate heresy word.
I mean, most people I think like them pre-heresy. Anyway.
Winding back to the
one thing. If you ever come on the GT podcast again, prior warning. Ludus is the master of, ironically, changing the topic. So you have more in common with Zinch than you realize.
Delightful. Yes.
I'm gonna stab a pin into my wrist now.
Please don't do that.
I think I know what the writers are trying to do with this new Inquisitor character. The the new one, the one that's really obsessed with Obi-Wan.
Reva.
I think I know it says she's like ruthless and evil, but they're writing her in a way that they're trying their darndest to make sure she doesn't do anything too despicable. But I think they're doing it. It's almost like a foreshadowing. But they either need her to go through some sort of bizarre redemption arc or some sort of relatability arc later on. And that's why she's doing the fucked up stuff that's just like millimeters away from straight up monstrous without her actually touching that line. And that is precisely why she doesn't kill the comic relief character.
I agree that that's what they're doing, but they're doing a terrible job at even that, because she cut off some random woman's hand.
I would agree, except she didn't have enough screen time for the viewer to care enough that her hand was cut off.
I know, I already commented about that.
But, I mean, that also goes back to what I was saying about, like, if we look on the D&D alignment chart, that sounds more, like, most of what she does sounds more like lawful evil than full-on chaotic evil.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's in the sense of she's going by a code. Now, when she killed the Grand Inquisitor, that would probably go more into like chaotic neutral, chaotic evil maybe, but like the rest of it is just straight up lawful evil. The argument I made is when they managed to kill that one Jedi that Obi-Wan said go and suicide yourself at them. They just killed that Jedi and not Jedi and everyone in about a block radius. When they were hunting for Obi-Wan, yeah, she did some pretty heinous shit, but she was doing it with the explicit intention of getting Obi-Wan. So, going by degrees, yeah, you could probably argue chaotic evil, but I see it more as, like I said, lawful evil in the sense that that's what they were kidnapped and raised on. That's their set of codes. So it makes sense.
Do you think that she was one of those young Jedi in that flashback?
No fucking clue. I haven't watched it.
Yes.
I'm going literally off everything Asmagana's telling me. I have no interest in Disney Star Wars.
And rumors. Because you told me you heard at least rumors.
Yeah, well, no, I saw, like, so...
I'm going off of what I actually watched the show.
So the rumors were
Yeah,
less
same.
based. The rumors were less on the show and more about the actress getting, called the diversity hire, shit like that, all the bullshit on Twitter and that.
Oh, yeah.
The only other thing I heard other than that was that it was either people were really mad towards it or just fucking hated it.
This is gonna sound kind of weird. I never had an issue with, straight up like the identity hires when it comes to like story writing stuff. But I have a lot more of a concern when it comes to what kind of moral platform they're trying to preach, because it can get very groany sometimes.
We don't really disagree. Oh, I can't speak for this. I don't disagree. I think I can, because earlier we kind of talked about that. We don't really disagree. Like, you can have you can select to hire somebody who's diverse, but in my opinion, they still have to be able to do the job.
Right, and that's kind of what I said earlier.
I would prefer you hire the best person for the job, but if you feel diversity somehow enhances it, fine, do it. But when people bitch and moan about it because that wasn't correct, you can't then call them racist because you prioritize their color than over their ability.
And let's just hypothetically say that this woman was hired again just because she is black and a woman. Then, as long as she's doing the job well or as best as she can, it shouldn't be an issue whether what she was fucking hired for. Her being hired for that is not on her. That's on whoever hired her for that. They're the idiot, not her. Yeah. So if she is a diversity hire, that's not her fault. She's just trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, we had a whole rant about this at the beginning. And I already explained myself thoroughly, but I really don't care if someone is hired for diversity or not, as long as they can do the job. But in her case, as long as she could do the job, I don't mind. I do think that, as I said before, I think that the actress actually has a physical presence. I think she's good at physical acting so far, but I would put it down to script, put it down to directing, put it down to both. But some of her lines have been either really bad or really dry.
Yeah, the way I see it, like I can't like comment for the writing because the writing is pretty stilted. But when it comes to her just like doing like actual like performances, you know what I mean, including like that semi CGI stuff where she's kind of doing the backflips. I thought that was kind of neat. I guess like it was. Here's the thing. We've experienced Hollywood for so long that like the exciting stuff doesn't faze us anymore. It's like you could do everything till the cows come home, but it's like you have to kind of boil it down to.
I would addend that by saying the exciting CGI stuff doesn't excite us anymore. I don't know about you, but every time I see something done practically, I still get excited.
Oh yeah, like practically is like a whole different ballpark because when you see it, you're like. It is the thing, as a filmmaker, if I see something physical and I could kind of see the physicality in what's being done, I can be like, oh wow, I vaguely know what they're doing and I can actually have a scale on how much effort was put in.
Yeah.
Sacrios, I want to apologize. I actually do have to go now.
Yeah.
I meant to leave like 30 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, no worries, man.
Because if I don't, my hungry pregnant wife is going to. And she even said yep.
Oof. Don't kill him, I need him alive.
Esmagon yet again said, don't kill him, I need him alive.
I don't want to lose my co-host.
What, Taylor? But, we should be good for next week. I don't have my next work schedule. They know not to schedule me on Wednesday now. So, Harness Corn said, don't kill him, I need to torment him. Do what?
My work's supposed to have me on a consistent schedule, but we got a new HR lady, and now my schedule's all fucked up. So I actually gotta talk to her tomorrow.
Yeah, just let me know what day you're off next week, and I should be able to make it happen unless it's like fucking Friday, or if it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Any other day, we can find a workaround.
Alright.
But I'm gonna go, because I'm gonna go feed the angry pregnant lady.
Alright, don't get killed.
Hey,
I'm gonna try to. Yep, you too. It was nice talking to you, man. Anytime you want to, just reach out to me or Asmo if we're on.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, my dude.
Yep.
You have a goodie?
I have a very quick question. So with Obi-Wan as a show as a whole, what would you say would repair it in your eyes in the next, like, I don't know how long the series is going to be, but let's say like the next 3 episodes, what do you think they would have to do to course correct if there was any course
They would have
correction?
had to do it in episode 3. Because everything they've done with what happened in episode 3, I don't think they can now. Not short of erasing everything they've done in the first 3 episodes.
If you was to ask me, I think there would have to be like 3 different things they would have to do. They would need to, first of all, they would need to like fix the elephant in the room, which is the dead Grand Inquisitor. Whether it be a reveal, a clone, like literally anything, just so like I don't have it like scratching the back of my skull non-stop. Secondly, I think what they need is, I think they need like a comeback story with Obi-Wan. Maybe like a Rocky style. Oh, he's at Rob Bomb. He hasn't trained for ages. You know, some BS like that. But when they have the fight, have it be absolutely spectacular. Like have it like pull the stops with maybe even like a new soundtrack or something that's actually really good. But I doubt they're gonna do it because to Disney, it's like they wanna hit the minimum threshold, and I think that's kind of unfortunate because Star Wars.
Well, the problem with that is this series, at least Ludus mentioned it. I hope he's wrong, but the whole thing's supposed to be 5 episodes. We're 3 in.
Oh, okay, so they have 2 episodes.
So they have 2 episodes to do what you're suggesting, and they spent 3 making him look like a really weak coward.
Mm-hmm.
So if they tried to do it in 2, I would feel insulted.
Oof, yeah. Unless like he gets it through Qui-Gon or something, because he's been like trying to contact him non-stop. Like there better be a payoff with that. It better not be the Qui-Gon was inside you all along. That'd be so stupid.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't put it past them though.
No, sorry, 6 episodes. Yeah, I was right. So it's gonna be. They have 3 more episodes, so they're halfway through.
Oh, okay. If they have, I mean, 3 episodes isn't that bad of a comeback length, unless you know they're gonna stretch it an extra season, which will be pretty bonkers. And I don't know if it would survive that long.
I don't think it would.
Current reception.
If they're gonna turn it around from where it's at right now, they need to do it within the season. Because if they make us wait for a season 2 to fix everything up, A lot of people have been burnt by this, and I liked episode 1 for the most part. Started seeing its problems. Second episode really started to burn me, and 3rd episode just downright was shit to me. Like they really fucked up with episode 3, in my opinion.
Do you think? Sorry to interrupt you, but like looking back on episode 2, I have a theory, and this might be devastating. What if Disney has like purposely given up on the old fan base, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to convince a new generation of kids that this is like the hip new thing beyond whatever the adults say? Because I noticed there's a lot of really like kiddie stuff in there that like to an adult would make you groan, but maybe to a kid you're like, oh gee whiz, you know, she's following around Kenobi. Oh, you know what I mean? Like that. There's no critical thinking involved.
Yeah, no, I know that is what they're doing. I don't think you're wrong at all. I think you're absolutely correct.
Oh damn, that's actually a depressing thought. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like some kid is going to be thrilled, and like the rest of us are like, you know, looking at our watches.
Yep. I mean, they would like nothing more than to get rid of us, because you can see it in all their shows, right? They make all the legacy characters that we grew up with pathetic, weak, and play second fiddle to other characters. And Boba Fett in his series, he played second fiddle to the newly introduced female character that was supposed to be his, I guess, second in command. Apparently, she did way more significant stuff. And even in his own series, played second fiddle to the Mandalorian character, who is also a new character made by Disney. Outside of him. He played second fiddle in his own show.
It's the same thing with Loki. If you want my honest opinion, I think what happened is they wanted to create new characters so they can make other groups of people feel special, but I think they forgot like the sacred art of like scaling. it's like they imagine you like have a camera and you need to focus on one thing at a time and everything, but you spend too much time on one thing that is like outside the main bulk of a show. You ever see like a TV show and like they'll have a main character and the main character's okay or whatever, but then you get a side character that's like pretty cool and decent. Have you ever noticed that like the side character that's pretty cool and decent, they don't show up that often in the TV show because it makes it special? The thing with Disney, they do it in reverse. They have a main character that barely shows up. Then they quote-unquote have what they think is a cool character, but they put the camera on them way too long to the point that it just kind of dries up the well instantly and there's like nothing left.
No, yeah, I would say that's true. To an extent. They still do focus on the main characters, but only enough to justify having them on the poster. But what they do, instead of having like the camera necessarily or the events focus around the new characters, although in The Mandalorian they did have it focus around the new character, but we look at Boba Fett again as a series, or Obi-Wan here as this, they have these secondary tangential characters which, instead of having the plot focus around them, they just have them have a major significance in the plot. And then they have them do the most significant stuff. Still having the main character technically on screen and the events being around or about them. But all of the portrayal in the sense of positivity or power or strength or skill or anything like that we would fiscally attach to a character and making them significant, interesting, or engaging is instead not given to the main character, but is given to the new characters that they're writing and the new beings of the lore that they want us to focus on and like, because it's what they've added to the lore, where they kind of feel, where the main character who is a legacy character that has already been there, always feels like an add-on to them. Where it doesn't feel like they respect them at all. They're just using their name, ironically, to stand on and grandiose about how great their new stuff is. Where in real life, that's kind of what they're doing with Star Wars anyway. They took Star Wars, they took a brand that already existed and already had a massive fan base, and they're standing on its corpse and going, "Look how amazing we are."
I agree. I think what it is they like the well must have like dried up in terms of like writing stuff, and they literally had to turn to fanfiction.net to like find people, and like half of them are just OC makers.
Pretty much.
I think as well, like if I doubt it, but if anyone is like, you know, listening to this, okay, and like they're trying to like make stories like what we're describing, I think there is an actual gold standard out there that they could copy that could actually be respectful and actually still allow like the main character like actual breathing room importance and significance. Have you seen the film Dredd?
The Judge Dredd 2012 series or movie?
The one with the tower, right? That one?
Yeah, the one that had Carl Urban.
That one, I think, had a very, very good character ratio. I think the way it was written and the way, you know, you have this you have this buddy cop like side character who's a little bit of an esper or whatever. She has like telekinetic powers and all that, and the fact that she doesn't overshadow the main person, but they actually work side by side in a very balanced manner. I think arguably that was a very optimal way of doing that kind of story. And I think, you know, if these writers are so desperate to make, quote-unquote, their OC or their identity niche, I think it might be important looking into Dredd and seeing what worked, basically.
Yeah. And the thing is, I would love it if studios and writers actually used Dredd as a masterclass and how to adapt a previously existing franchise while still making small adjustments and changes, but still keep the core meat and potatoes of what made people become fans of it in the first place remain. And they're quite frankly, they're not doing that here. They're not doing it with Star Wars. They're not doing it with Star Trek. They're not, and I know Star Trek's owned by Paramount, but who are the original owners? But still, somehow they're fucking up their own franchise. Oh,
Yes, Star Trek has been going down the gutter for a while, like ever since like STD and all that. I think I think Deep Space Nine was like the truly like good Star Trek. Like it had all the sanctity of the original while also having the ability to have actual interpersonal conflict. And like don't get me wrong, we have an overabundance now of all the over personal conflict, but all the sanctity has now gone out the window. Basically, it's like they just tipped the ship upside down.
Yeah, I liked. I grew up on Star Trek. I watched the original series with my dad. I watched Voyager with my sister, and I watched Deep Space Nine and The Next Generation pretty much by myself. And I also watched Star Trek Enterprise when it came out. Highly underrated, by the way. That should not have been canceled, but sadly it did after 3 seasons. Technically, it got a 4th, but it didn't get as full. Yeah, Star Trek died after Enterprise, though.
Yeah. Enterprise was weird though. It was like it was sort of like Star Trek, but it felt a bit too like dialed back, or it's like it.
Well,
Didn't
for me,
quite
I
look
disagree. I feel like it dialed back perfect. Dialed back the perfect amount because a lot of people initially when the show came out cited the reason they didn't like it was aesthetically it didn't feel super sci-fi, but it was a prequel series. It was taking place with the first warp drive engine. This is we're not talking just a decade or two before Kirk. We're talking what, almost 100 years, almost a century before Kirk would board his Enterprise. This is the very first warp drive ship from Earth. This is the first crew. I actually loved the aesthetic they chose. It felt more like modern day stuff while still being sci-fi enough to justify it being in the genre. It looked, it looked very industrial, very mechanical. The ship felt kind of confined. As someone who worked for the Navy as a contractor designing warships, I gotta say, you ask me what our first iteration of spacecraft are gonna look like, that's not far off from what I would design. They really nailed it, in my opinion, on a proto Starfleet.
You know what? I actually agree. Like, yes, what I did say was definitely about the aesthetic, but you explaining it that way, I'm like, yeah, I could actually see that. I think, you know what it is? I think we live in a stage called the YouTube clip generation, where you might be curious about a show, but then YouTube will present clips and it would kind of rob it of any urgency or context, and you just like end up with like these very, very like selected pieces that don't really paint a good enough full picture on anything.
Yeah.
Like you ever had that where like you go on YouTube and like they might present footage from some random show you vaguely heard of, maybe you look at it and they kind of undersell it to you.
I've had that happen a couple times. Not much lately, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's basically what I think that's what YouTube did for me in Enterprise. It's like I looked at a few clips and it was like, I don't know. I think I had the wrong mindset about it, probably.
Possibly. But don't feel like you're alone in that. I mean, lots of Trekkies, fellow Star Trek fans like myself, didn't like Star Trek Enterprise when it came out because a lot of them were. I think a lot of people didn't go into watching that really absorbing the fact that it was a prequel, not by a couple years, but by almost a full century before Captain Kirk boarded his Enterprise. This is a show that was taking the clock back. Like, this is just after Zefram Cochrane died, after he just built the warp drive engine. The Enterprise in that show, the Enterprise Z, I believe.
I'm just giving you a heads up. Something weird happened to the text chat.
Nah, on the stream, yeah, we get bots.
I mean that must be a sign of success if they notice you exist, I guess.
I don't know. Like, the thing is, larger creators, actually, I don't ever notice them getting these like I get them. I'm not saying I'm unique. I'm pretty sure other creators get them too, but I don't know. I certain times I get them pretty bad.
Yeah, it's definitely crooked when they add the XYZ at the end.
Yeah.
I think I definitely think. Oh God, you know what? Okay, this is a very big hot take. I doubt it's true. What if in Obi-Wan they're introducing time travel?
Oh God, please no.
Because if you ever watch Rebels, time manipulation was actually vaguely canon, if I remember. Like they had this whole corridor thing, and like the Force was like full circle.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired. I'm so sick and tired of writers using that as a fucking cop out. Oh, let's just time travel. That fixed all the fuck ups I just made. How about you
I
just
just
not
wanna,
make fuck ups? There's an idea.
Yeah, I know, right? I tell you this though, I'm only saying this because if by that 1% chance it actually happens, I could go, aha, I told you. And if not, then I'll just like hide in a hole until it like blows over, I guess.
Good. I just hope they don't do that. I really hope you're wrong there.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong too, but that's not how betting works, I'm afraid.
No, I know. I'm betting that they won't, just because I don't want them to. But I don't think they're above it. In fact, I think they're. This is Disney. They're actually quite well, thoroughly within that expectation of doing time travel as a solution to shitty writing.
Yeah, the way I see it, when you do any show, if you're planning to do time travel, you need to introduce it at the start, or else you've kind of played your hand, basically.
Or you need to build up to it. And rule of thumb, if you ever do use time travel in writing, always use temporal certainty theory. Don't use the other two theories ever.
What's temporal certainty theory?
Temporal certainty theory, or temporal rigid theory, I think is the other way to phrase it, is the theory that in time travel, you always went back in time and whatever you did always happened and resulted in the events that you lived through. You can't change events because they always occurred the way that they did.
I always hated those endings.
No, that's the only form of time travel that logically works. There's no other form that works. Time travel, the only other one that kind of works is multiverse theory. And that one doesn't work in the sense of overcomplication of writing. Because once you get into multiverse theory, you open the doors for a lot more stories, but you open into a lot more stories that are confusing as fuck, get really extreme, really frustrating, and you pretty much just write yourself into this big spidering off like web of stuff that fans of your franchise or fans of whatever you're writing are going to completely lose touch of. Because it's just going to be too much. There is such a thing as too many branching paths and stories, and it'll exhaust people quite a bit.
I think Fate Stay Night did it okay.
I would have to rewatch Fate Stay Night. I can't remember how they handled time travel. Generally speaking,
it's more than one series, so you're going to be there for a while.
I don't know it too well. But generally speaking, the only form of time travel that works is temporal certainty.
Did Endgame not work for you?
No, I didn't like that they used time travel to begin with in that. No, I wasn't really a big fan of Endgame. I have the unpopular opinion with that, and even then they used multiverse theory, which again is the second one that kind of works, but I still hate it.
Yeah,
because now they've opened up that whole now there's an infinite number of universes that we can draw from to create more stories. Great, and that means I won't be able to keep track of any of it.
I do like the graphs. I know it's such a stupid comment, but like in like that Loki show when like you see all the computers, those old 50s computers, and you see like what an actual timeline looks like and the way it like diverges, and they actually like illustrate in a way that like a normie could understand. I'm like,
yeah, multiverse theory is really simplistic. I mean, all it is you have your linear timeline that you're in, and then if you go back in time and change something, instead of your timeline changing, it stays the same. The events still occurred the same way. All you've done is create a branch of a universe that is separate to your own. It's parallel. It's still the same universe, but it's the what-if scenario of if that one element changed. Again, like multiverse theory is probably the most simplistic and easiest to understand. Temporal certainty is confusing for a lot of people, I've noticed, despite the fact that it's also kind of simple, but it's just the idea of it's hard to understand. It's the idea that nothing changes. If you went back in time, you always did. And everything that happened always happened the way that it did.
My only question with, like, you know, temporal certainty is, to a degree, I mean, don't get me wrong, it is definitely logical and possible. It's just at a certain point when quote unquote free will is in the equation, you're basically telling the viewer that the universe is so malleable and adjustable that it can rubber band itself so quickly like that, and it could get a bit frustrating.
But what do you mean?
Well, think about it. Let's say you went back in time because you wanted to stop X person from dying, okay? And you go back and immediately you too get hit by a truck because you're not meant to stop it. You know what I mean?
That's not how it works, though. More aptly, you would go back in time, and in your attempts to stop it, it still would occur. And if anything, it would occur because you went back in time.
Well, yeah, obvious. No, that's what I'm saying. Like you've been hit by a truck, mean that you was unable to stop because the universe has literally dragged you from stopping it because it's the only way for the continuity to continue.
Not true.
Like,
there's also other ways you can actually stop that person from dying, but still make it look like they did. That's actually the thing. Temporal certainty, in my opinion, invites more creativity with writing.
It does, except there is this really big philosophical dilemma, which is you're basically, how to put this? With the temporal certainty, there is two ways of interpreting the because there's a visual element, as you've said, of observation, but then it enters this state where it's like, wait, so do you mean that you magically increase the chances of a thing happening because you didn't observe it a certain way? It's like the cat in the box analogy almost, but without the multiverse. It's more like, oh no, the cat's always gonna, you know, die in the box whether you observed it or not, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, your observation has no bearing on the reality of the event happening. Like a tree could get cut down in a forest, and you might not observe that tree being cut down in a forest, but it still got cut down.
You're referencing Schrodinger's cat theory, and I'm not sure why you're trying. That is an entirely.
It's about observation, though.
Yes, but it's about observation, but not branching timelines or time travel or the effect of it.
I'm pretty sure you mentioned that part of the thing is observation, as in,
I didn't.
You. If I remember correctly, what you said was, you could save the person, but you have to observe it as if they're dying, when in reality you.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, what did you say? Sorry.
I said that you can still prevent the person from dying, but make it look like they died.
Isn't that observation, though?
No, I'm not referencing the observation. Well, technically observation is involved, but it's not about observation, necessarily. Basically, it's the idea that you did succeed in preventing the death, but so the timeline still remained the same, the events that occurred still made it appear as someone died. So the timeline continues with the person who traveled back in time, believing that they died, when in fact that they didn't. You did save them, and went back in time to save them, but so you still went back in time, and the events that occurred still occurred. The person still needed to, as far as you were concerned, your past self was concerned, they did die, giving you the motivation to go back in time in the first place.
Wait, hold on. But if you... Let's say you're in that in-between stage where you have saved said person, but like in that way that you described, as in the observation goes out the window. Does the universe then manipulate it so they can't re-observe them until you're out the picture? Or would you cause a time paradox if you did bring them into observation, breaking the continuity? Or does that become physically impossible?
I think you're putting way too much weight on the observation element.
Because if you observe someone being alive, then you wouldn't be doing the going back in time thing, no, right?
Correct, but you didn't. That's the point.
Okay.
That's why you still went back in time.
Okay. There's a lot of determinism involved, absolutely. We'll be here all day if we discuss this. Like, holy crap, it's like... This
is why time travel I recommend most people avoid, because it's Even if you use temporal certainty theory, it's still complex to write. If you use temporal multiverse, again, multiverse is probably the easiest and I personally say laziest form of time travel. Because basically it's the idea of, well, your decisions don't matter. Because, yeah, you can go back and change something, but nothing in your universe changed. You just created an alternative one. While yours still exists.
Was you a fan of BioShock Infinite, or was that not really your jam?
I didn't like BioShock Infinite, no. I like BioShock.
I was actually pretty keen on BioShock Infinite. That was the whole thing that introduced me to the many worlds theory. I was like, oh man, this is freaky. Whoa, you know what I mean, like that. It was like,
I didn't like it. Legacy of Kain does it beautifully. Yes, Legacy of Kain is a good example of using time travel and using it in an effective way. So, and using it in a different non-temporal certainty way. So, if you want to use, I believe that one uses technically temporal chaos. Oh no, I can't. I think it was temporal chaos. Oh yeah, that's the third theory with time travel because there's 3 prevailing ones. There's temporal certainty, temporal multiverse, and then there's temporal chaos theory.
What's temporal chaos theory? I haven't heard.
Temporal chaos theory is the idea that if you go back in time and you change anything, there is still one linear path, and whatever you change could result in the death of the universe. Because if you went back in time far enough and you stepped on a B, that might domino effect into you never being born. Therefore, you never went back in time, and now the universe is now going to implode because it's now stuck in basically a never-ending cycle of you going back in time, stepping on that B. That B then, because it was never around to do whatever, therefore your birth never occurred. Therefore, you going back in time never occurred. Therefore, you never stepped on the B. The B still exists. You're still born. You go back in time. You kill it, and then that's an eternal and never-ending loop. So temporal chaos theory is the worst one. Whether we're talking from a writing standpoint or if it's true standpoint, it's the worst one.
Yeah, I think Rick and Morty touched upon that briefly. I think they did this whole thing with snakes, and then like they went back in time, and they like they killed a very nasty German snake. I won't say who just for monetization, but basically they went back in time, then they went forward, and then a different person went in to change it again, and before long it was time travelers versus other time travelers, and it
no,
like, the whole planet
Rick and Morty uses multiverse.
I know it uses multiverse. I'm just saying they did an episode like literally with actual time travel rather than concurrent like parallel running universes, and it was basically a snake eating its tail. That was kind of the joke it was trying to say.
Alright. Chaos
wild stuff.
Theory. Yeah,
yeah,
pretty much. Temporal chaos theory is the most terrifying one. Because if you go back in time, you could change your future and you still be born. Therefore, the universe doesn't go into a loop. But again, you make one specific error, and it domino effects to you not having gone back in time or you not having been born, then the universe is fucked. Because now it's going to be in that internal loop into the heat death of the universe.
I'm still thinking if like time travel like ever does become like possible, it would literally be just time travelers versus other time travelers because it would be like the technology would just loop back on itself over key points in history. It would just be a never-ending fight between people wanting things to go a certain way chronologically.
Pretty much. You're not wrong, and that's the thing. That's why I hate that time travel is being used more and more in storylines, because it's a cop-out. More often than not, it's a cop-out. Like, I rarely seen it used. I'd say a good, and I hate to use this as an example, because considering I still like the books, to be honest, but in Harry Potter, it's one of the few times I've seen time travel used correctly, in the sense that it's used briefly. It's for a single amount of the plot. It's justified up to that point in the story, and it's not used again. And they do explain logically why it's not used again. And even in that used temporal certainty theory, which is they always went back in time, they always did what they did, and it always resulted in what it resulted in. They just had to do it again. Brief, quick, and very easily to understand. and they don't overuse it. Meanwhile, Hollywood's using it right now as a club.
Oh yeah, like Hollywood, like I think they lost the arc of like making like original stuff. It's like everything is kind of borrowed from something else in such a way that it's becoming a little too obvious and a little too predictable.
It's just
like,
they're not using time travel effectively. They're not really thinking about it. It's just being used as a way to erase mistakes.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, I gotta wrap up this stream, so I will have to say goodbye. But thank you for coming on. I will share your fun fact. Sekrios is actually a content creator as well. Well, would you describe yourself as that? I know you're an indie storyteller, but would you also say content creator?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
hardcore.
So yeah, he's also a content creator. He creates he runs the channel Obsidian Archives. They have some amazing animatic series that are going on over there. He's writing and working on a very interesting series, which I recommend you guys check out. I will link the channel right in chat. Hold on. Boom. Yeah, so please go support him over there. He is a very talented creator and a very fun person to have conversations with. But all in all, I do actually have to call it here because I have to get dinner and I work in the morning, so I do gotta get some rest. And yeah, thank you all for showing up to the stream, and thank you for the wonderful conversation. And we will catch you hopefully next week. I'm gonna see if I can still get my Wednesdays off. Anyway, have a good one, guys. Bye.